Important update about YouTube playlists. Hey everyone. We've received many messages asking why our YouTube playlists aren't showing up. Do we create YouTube playlists? Yes, we absolutely do. So why can't you see them? Honestly, we're not sure. We've been in contact with YouTube support for several months now, but we still haven't received a clear answer or solution. After much discussion, our team has decided to take matters into our own hands. We believe the issue might be related to the number of playlists we've created on a single channel, possibly too many. Our solution? We're launching 2 additional YouTube channels, giving us a total of 3. This way, we can organize our audiobooks better and avoid the playlist visibility issue in the future. This change only affects our YouTube audience. If you're a patron supporter, you can still access all our audiobooks by visiting the collection menu on Patreon. Thanks so much for your time and continued support. Happy listening. The box of ultimate bliss seemed to have a life of its own, greedily absorbing a considerable amount of Byakuya's chakra. 1 unit, 2 units, 3 units. The box continued to drain chakra from Byakuya, absorbing enough energy that Muku could now hear Satori's voice more clearly in his mind. At that moment, the grass country Jonin Mua furrowed his brow. He glanced toward the box of ultimate bliss and then, with a wary expression, scanned his surroundings before saying, "Since you've already arrived, why not show yourself?" Byakuya decided not to conceal himself any longer. He stood in front of Mu and spoke calmly, "Mr. Mu, I've heard of your reputation. I came here to visit you, but isn't the box of ultimate bliss supposed to be under Hazuki Castle's protection? So why the sacrificial rituals lately?" Chapter 232, Why do you think I'd give you a chance? Upon seeing Byakuya's appearance, Mua's expression shifted. He quickly evaluated the situation, and once he confirmed Byakuya's identity, his face grew even more serious. Byakuya was no ordinary ninja. Since the Battle of Hidden Clouds Village, the major ninja villages across the world had all come to know of Byakuya. Though young, he could hold his own against the 4th Raikage in a short amount of time. Such strength was intimidating even to the 5 Kage, and for smaller ninja villages, he was practically a legendary figure. After all, a Kage-level ninja could single-handedly bring Hidden Grass Village to its knees. Realizing this, Mu instinctively took a half-step back. Yet, remembering his mission to revive Hidden Grass Village, he firmly stepped forward again. Seeing his father's movement, the young Muku also stepped forward, unaware of Byakuya's reputation or strength. To Muku, Byakuya only seemed a few years older than himself and couldn't possibly pose a threat to his father. Byakuya smirked at this display and began to approach Mu, saying, "Mr. Mu, you still haven't properly answered my question. What exactly is Hidden Grass Village trying to accomplish with these secret activities?" Standing his ground, Mua replied, "How did you find this place?" "I thought our operation was well concealed." "Well," Byakuya replied, "maybe it has something to do with your recent attacks on the borders of Hidden Rain Village. I thought I'd come to see what Hidden Grass Village had up its sleeve to make it bold enough to provoke Hidden Rain Village." Hearing this, Mua's face darkened as he inwardly cursed those reckless Hawk faction members. Though he sided with the Hawk elders, he had no intention of provoking a powerful village like Hidden Rain Village before Hidden Grass Village had strengthened itself. In the eyes of a small village like Hidden Grass Village, Hidden Rain Village, ruled by a demigod, was already a regional power. After a moment's thought, Mua's expression softened as he tried to explain, "Byakuya, no, Byakuya-sama, our village has no ulterior motives. Those who attacked your village were rogue ninjas and have nothing to do with Hidden Grass Village. As for what you saw just now, that was not a sacrificial ritual. This is Hazuki Castle's method of dealing with prisoners. If we don't extract the excess chakra from them, a riot could become quite troublesome." Byakuya fell silent, then looked at Mua with an expression of mild exasperation. Mua felt a bit embarrassed under Byakuya's gaze, knowing that his explanation was feeble, but he wasn't ready to give up just yet against a high-level ninja like Byakuya. In the end, he gathered all his chakra, formed hand seals, and shouted, "Fire style, heavenly prison." In an instant, fiery chains materialized from Mua's hands, shooting toward Byakuya. The bright red flames emanated intense heat, distorting the surrounding air. Byakuya dodged the flaming chains in a swift movement and landed near the altar. In response, he released his own sealing technique, the adamantine sealing chains. 8 golden chains emerged from his back, swiftly entangling Mua's flaming chains, canceling them out in midair. Mua's face paled at this sight. The fire-style, heavenly prison technique was a secret of the Heavenly Prison Clan and a powerful technique for subduing prisoners from various nations. Yet Byakuya had neutralized it with ease. Could the gap between himself and a Kage-level ninja really be this vast? Byakuya, meanwhile, had already analyzed the mechanics of the flaming chains. It was a fire-based sealing jutsu. If the chains managed to latch onto a target, they would bind them tightly. Mua's abilities were indeed formidable. With such powerful techniques at his disposal, he was clearly at the level of an elite Jonin, which explained how he had risen to be the warden of Hazuki Castle. However, to Byakuya, the strength of an elite Jonin was still just that, nothing more than a minor obstacle. Upon awakening his Uzumaki bloodline and learning the explosive tag creation technique from the system, Byakuya had reached the strength of an elite Jonin. Yet, fearing Madara's attention, he had kept a low profile, never revealing his full abilities. Bringing his drifting thoughts back to the present, Byakuya glanced at Mua from a distance, remarking coolly, "Your skills aren't bad. Do you have any other secret techniques?" Mua's face darkened. Byakuya's tone was strangely patronizing, as if a senior Jonin were instructing a fresh graduate. It had been years since Mua had endured such a condescending attitude, and he couldn't tolerate it. Without hesitation, he formed hand seals, conjuring a new set of flaming chains. This time, the flames shifted, reshaping themselves from chains into a sword. With a fiery blade in hand, Mua's figure flickered, appearing at Byakuya's side in an instant. Now that Byakuya understood the mechanics behind Mua's secret technique, he didn't even bother to dodge. Remaining perfectly still, he brought his hands together in a slow, deliberate gesture. Immediately, thick vines erupted from the ground, binding Mua tightly. Mua hacked at the vines with his flaming sword, but the burning vines released thick smoke that quickly filled the underground chamber. Byakuya noticed the interaction between fire style and wood style and chuckled to himself. While fire style indeed countered wood style, in some ways, wood style countered fire style as well. Wood style, with its unique ability to absorb chakra, produced smoke when burned, creating an indiscriminate area effect that could choke even a ninja using fire techniques. Mua, realizing the danger, choked on the smoke and was forced to retract his fiery sword as he struggled to break free from the vines. But no matter how much he struggled, the vines remained steadfast. Byakuya's attention shifted to Muku, who had also been affected by the thick smoke. He walked over, noticing that the young ninja, likely fresh out of the academy, was visibly shaken after witnessing his father's swift defeat. In Muku's mind, his father had always been the village's most powerful shinobi. But against Byakuya, his father hadn't even stood a chance and was subdued within minutes. With desperation growing, Muku steeled himself and sprinted towards the box of ultimate bliss. He planned to make a wish to the box, hoping it would grant him the strength to defeat Byakuya, even if it cost him his life. Just as Muku was about to speak, Byakuya flickered to his side, cutting him off. Gazing at Muku and Mua's defiant, yet helpless expressions, Byakuya sighed and remarked, "You should know I came here for the box of ultimate bliss. Why would you think I'd give you a chance to open it?" Chapter 233, Lord Byakuya is right. After thoughtfully preparing a smaller chain for Muku, Byakuya threw both father and son together in the same spot, then leapt to the top of the box of ultimate bliss, beginning a serious examination of this treasure from the era of the Sage of the Six Paths. According to legend, the box of ultimate bliss contains a creature named Satori. It is said to grant a single wish to whoever opens the box, but the wish is often granted in a way that contradicts the wisher's intentions. For instance, if a Genin wishes to come first in the Chunin exams, Satori wouldn't help the Genin gain strength. Instead, it would eliminate all the other participants, achieving the wish in a twisted way. However, Byakuya didn't entirely believe the legends that Satori's power is limitless. If the box of ultimate bliss were truly that powerful, Hidden Grass Village would have become the dominant nation and ruled over the entire shinobi world centuries ago. After all, though Satori is strong, it still requires chakra as fuel. The shinobi world has plenty of creatures with vast chakra, such as the nine-tailed beasts separated from the ten-tails, as well as native gods like Jashin and Morio, whose powers are also formidable. As Byakuya walked toward the box of ultimate bliss, Jonin Mua moved his lips slightly and reminded him, "Byakuya-sama, using the box of ultimate bliss comes at a price. If anything goes wrong, we could all end up dead." Byakuya glanced at Jonin Mua and said, "You're aware that using the box of ultimate bliss requires a price. So why were you trying to conduct a secret sacrificial ritual to open it? Or perhaps Hidden Grass Village has some method to avoid paying the price?" Jonin Mua fell silent since he hadn't considered a way to avoid the price. His plan was simply to use Satori first and deal with the costs later. As long as he could release Satori, even if his wish couldn't be fully realized, he could still weaken the surrounding nations and give Hidden Grass Village an advantage. Byakuya knew Mua had no way of avoiding the cost. Otherwise, in the original timeline, Mua wouldn't have opened the box of ultimate bliss twice, paying with both his son's life and his own. Now, Byakuya was considering how to transport the box of ultimate bliss back to his village. Relying solely on white Zetsu would take at least a month, and using his own wood style to transport it would be too conspicuous. At this point, he still didn't want too many people to know he had mastered wood style. Collecting his gradually wandering thoughts, Byakuya looked at Mu and asked, "Hey, Lord of Hazuki Castle, are you interested in becoming my subordinate?" The reason why the Hawk and Dove factions in Hidden Grass Village are at odds fundamentally comes down to the worsening economic conditions in the Land of Grass. Even shinobi are struggling to make a living. If you agree to work under me, I could consider integrating you into Hidden Rain Village's trade system and even offer protection to Hidden Grass Village. Mu instinctively wanted to refuse Byakuya. As an elite jonin of Hidden Grass Village and the Lord of Hazuki Castle, he had his pride. How could he surrender to the enemy? But when he looked over at his son Muku, Mu hesitated. He wasn't afraid to die, but he didn't want his son to die with him. So, Byakuya's offer was very tempting. If the situation in the Land of Grass hadn't worsened so much, he wouldn't have joined forces with the Hawkish elders, nor would he have stirred up internal conflict in Hidden Grass Village. After a moment of contemplation, Mu spoke up, "I accept your terms. However, the elders and leader of the Hawk faction may not agree, and you must return the Box of Ultimate Bliss to us." Byakuya shook his head. "I can't give you the Box of Ultimate Bliss. I can sense a massive, malevolent chakra inside, even from outside the box. If you end up releasing the creature inside on a whim, it could destroy Hidden Grass Village at best, but it would be terrible if it also affected Hidden Rain Village." Mua's face shifted, but he understood that being able to save his and his son's lives was already fortunate. He had no choice but to reluctantly accept Byakuya's terms. The moment Mu agreed to join the Akatsuki, Byakuya received a notification from his system. "Hazuki Castle's Lord has joined the Akatsuki. You have gained Fire Style, Heavenly Prison, Fire Style, Great Fire Heavenly Prison, and Fire Style, Heavenly Prison Fire Sword." Byakuya glanced at the recruitment rewards and casually clicked to claim them. He had thought all of Hazuki Castle would join the Akatsuki, but it turned out to be just the Lord himself. Perhaps Mua's subordinates were too weak, making the system ignore them entirely. Moreover, the prisoners didn't count as members of Hazuki Castle, so Byakuya's attempt to exploit a bug had undoubtedly failed. Just as Byakuya was complaining, the ring on his hand suddenly became hot. He raised the ring, and Nagato's projection appeared in the void. Byakuya could vaguely see the scene on Nagato's side. It seemed he was standing near the Hidden Grass Village building, talking to him, with several defeated grass ninjas lying nearby. Through the projection, Nagato spoke, "Byakuya, I've run into some trouble here. How are things on your end? I might need your help." As soon as he finished speaking, another grass ninja appeared behind Nagato, forcing the projection to shut down. Seeing this, Byakuya's expression changed, and he began to worry about Nagato. Could Yahiko's prophecy really be coming true? Nagato couldn't possibly be losing to the ninjas of Hidden Grass Village, could he? The Rinnegan could not be bested by a bunch of jonin. If that happened, both the Sage of the Six Paths and Madara Uchiha would rise from their graves in disbelief. Mu and Muku also understood the situation from the projection, and they were filled with shock. The grass ninjas defeated by Nagato looked like random passers-by, but in reality, they were some of the few elite jonin in Hidden Grass Village. The emergence of demigods like Jiraiya and monsters like Byakuya in Hidden Rain Village was one thing, but why did such powerful figures also exist in Hidden Grass Village? Why couldn't Hidden Grass Village have such strong individuals? The heavens were unfair to Hidden Grass Village. Byakuya noticed Mua's expression and realized he might have overthought it. Nagato's strength should be sufficient to handle the situation in Hidden Grass Village. However, he had already secured control over the Lord of Hazuki Castle and the Box of Ultimate Bliss. There was no need to stay in Hazuki Castle any longer. It was time to head to Hidden Grass Village and see the results of Nagato's efforts. With that in mind, Byakuya looked at Mu and Muku and said, "We're about done here in Hidden Grass Village. Do you two want to come with me to take a look? Can we refuse?" Muku, as the son, spoke quietly. As the father, Mu knew they had no choice. He looked at Byakuya and said, "Everything is up to Byakuya-sama. We can do whatever you say." Byakuya nodded, then picked up Mu and Muku, heading toward the ground. He also left behind a wood clone to set up a sealing array in this place, temporarily sealing the Box of Ultimate Bliss. It would be better to keep this thing in the organization for research rather than letting it out into the world. Chapter 234, Nagato's Social Anxiety and Good Health. When Byakuya arrived at Hidden Grass Village with Mu and Muku, the battle inside the village had already ended. Passing through the main street of Hidden Grass Village, Byakuya soon reached the Hidden Grass Village headquarters and found Nagato, wearing his Akatsuki cloak, looking bewildered. Around him lay defeated Hidden Grass Village shinobi, unconscious on the ground. Witnessing the scene, Mu felt a chill down his spine. Watching his fellow Hidden Grass Village shinobi fall in a live battle was much more shocking than seeing it happen through a distant projection. He couldn't fathom how these ninjas, who were around his own strength level, had lost even when fighting together. Could this plain, skinny young man before him really have a beast hidden within him? Ignoring the defeated Hidden Grass Village shinobi on the ground, Byakuya approached Nagato and said, "Nagato, didn't you call for backup just now? Where's the enemy?" Nagato's expression turned awkward upon hearing this. Earlier, he had infiltrated the Hidden Grass Village headquarters and was discovered and surrounded by the village's leader. Feeling he might not be able to handle the combined force of the Hidden Grass Village leader and several jonin, he had sent a request for aid to Byakuya. The Hidden Grass Village leader, while not on par with the 5 Kage, should be at least as strong as an elder of one of the great 5 shinobi villages. But when the real battle began, Nagato quickly realized. The Hidden Grass Village leader was merely an elite jonin, and the other Hidden Grass Village ninjas were even weaker than he had expected, barely at the level of special jonin. Using only 3 of his 6 paths, Nagato had effortlessly taken down the entire Hidden Grass Village force. After dealing with the Hidden Grass Village's higher-ups, Nagato, lacking negotiation skills, could only wait helplessly for Byakuya to arrive. Of course, while Nagato felt embarrassed, his image was perceived very differently by others. At this moment, Hidden Grass Village was in the midst of a fierce struggle between the Hawk and Dove factions. The Dove faction, holding the advantage, was actively capturing spies from the Hawk faction throughout the village when they unexpectedly encountered Nagato. Initially, 2 Hidden Grass Village chunin had tried to apprehend Nagato but were quickly defeated, prompting the village to send special jonin, then jonin, and finally even the Hidden Grass Village leader. Yet all of them were no match for Nagato and ended up sprawled across the ground, defeated. The Hidden Grass Village leader had attempted to negotiate with Nagato, but Nagato remained indifferent and unresponsive, making them feel as though they were staring into an abyss. After a moment of silence, Nagato finally spoke, "The enemies were weaker than I expected. I didn't know how to negotiate, so I waited for you here." He paused before adding, "Also, were you lying to me before? I seem to be quite strong." At this, the Hidden Grass Village shinobi around them looked on in shock, struggling to believe what they were hearing. Byakuya patted Nagato on the shoulder and replied, "The situation in Hidden Grass Village is unique and doesn't represent the entire shinobi world. There are still many powerful shinobi out there, at least a dozen stronger than us. For example, do you think you could defeat one of the legendary Sannin like Jiraiya?" Nagato thought for a moment, then shook his head. "I don't think I could take on Jiraiya-sensei. Even if I used all 6 paths of Rinnegan, I couldn't bring him down." Byakuya continued to guide him patiently. "Exactly. If you can't even be sure of defeating Jiraiya, how could we ever contend with the 5 Kage, the pinnacle of the shinobi world? That's why you'll still need to keep training hard." Nagato nodded in agreement, seeming to accept Byakuya's words. Seeing that he'd successfully convinced Nagato again, Byakuya sighed in relief, thinking he'd need a different line of reasoning next time. As for how strong Nagato actually was, even Byakuya wasn't certain. After all, both his battle experience and resolve were different from the Nagato of the original timeline. Following the principle that the darker, the stronger, the original Nagato might have had the edge. However, the original Nagato was weakened by his injuries, whereas Byakuya's Nagato was healthy Nagato, which, although not as extreme as healthy Itachi, still represented a significant power boost. Returning from his wandering thoughts, Byakuya approached the Hidden Grass Village leader and knelt down beside him. The Hidden Grass Village leader looked up at Byakuya, suddenly recognizing him. I think I've seen you before?" Byakuya glanced at the leader and smiled. "We did meet once a long time ago, but I'm surprised someone as important as the Hidden Grass Village leader would remember someone like me. You're that little bit. I mean friend from back then. Haha." The Hidden Grass Village leader trailed off, remembering he was now a prisoner, and his tone became subdued. "So, what's the reason for your visit this time? Hidden Grass Village doesn't have any more ninjutsu scrolls to offer. You already took some of our shinobi last time." Hearing this, Byakuya remained unfazed, but Nagato's expression shifted slightly. As an orphan who had lost his parents and grown up in the war-torn era, Nagato didn't care much for his own safety, but he did worry about his friends' and clan's well-being. Years ago, if not for Byakuya's intervention, Karen might have died. Sensing the tense atmosphere, the Hidden Grass Village leader was confused. Wasn't Hidden Grass Village the victim in the past? Why did they now look so furious? Byakuya gave a cold laugh, then slashed his arm with a kunai, the wound healing almost instantly. Seeing this, the Hidden Grass Village leader realized with horror, You're descendants of the Uzumaki clan, just like that woman?" Byakuya nodded. "If we had been stronger back then, we wouldn't have settled for just a few ninjutsu scrolls. Consider yourselves lucky we left it at that." The Hidden Grass Village leader's voice trembled. "So, this time you're here." Fearfully, the Hidden Grass Village leader imagined what Byakuya and Nagato might do next. These people, exiled and vengeful, could be even more extreme than the Hawks. Byakuya looked at him and replied, This time, we're here to address the recent attacks by Hidden Grass Village on the Hidden Rain Village border. The Hidden Grass Village leader hesitated, surprised. When did Hidden Grass Village attack the Hidden Rain Village border? Could it have been the Hawks? Considering this, he quickly added, "Sir, it was the Hawk faction. This has nothing to do with Hidden Grass Village. I believe there's been a misunderstanding between us." Byakuya replied impassively, "Are the Hawks not still Hidden Grass Village shinobi?" Chapter 235, Negotiation and Orochimaru. Hearing the Hidden Grass Village leader's explanation, Mua frowned. Hidden Grass Village's Hawk and Dove factions only differed in their approaches. The Hawks wanted to take proactive action to improve the village's unfavorable trade situation and secure more missions, while the Doves preferred to maintain the status quo, believing stability would ultimately lead to improvement. In the end, both factions cared about Hidden Grass Village, just with differing methods. But when the Hidden Grass Village leader essentially disowned the Hawks, Mua felt slighted, as though he and his fellow Hawks were being cast out of the village. Hearing Byakuya's questioning of the leader, Mua felt a bit relieved. Facing Byakuya's challenging tone, the Hidden Grass Village leader quickly waved his hand, saying, "That's not what I meant. I just wanted to say that the actions of a few extreme individuals shouldn't affect the relationship between Hidden Grass Village and Hidden Rain Village." Byakuya continued to fix his gaze on him, which made the Hidden Grass Village leader sigh inwardly. Finally, he asked, "What exactly do you two want Hidden Grass Village to do in exchange for sparing us?" Byakuya exchanged a glance with Nagato, then replied, "Aside from settling the border issue, we're here on behalf of our leader to establish a cooperative arrangement with Hidden Grass Village. I've heard that your village's economy has been struggling recently, with fewer mission requests coming in. If Hidden Grass Village is willing to sign an agreement and join Hidden Rain Village's trade network, it would greatly benefit both sides." The Hidden Grass Village leader's eyes trembled after hearing this. He'd signed similar agreements before, like the alliance treaty with Hidden Leaf Village after the last Shinobi World War. However, such agreements came at a cost. As part of the alliance with Hidden Leaf Village, Hidden Grass Village sacrificed trade and mission autonomy, allowing both trade and mission requests to flow freely between them. Though these terms appeared mutually beneficial on the surface, the economic power of Hidden Leaf Village and the Land of Fire meant Hidden Grass Village and the Land of Grass were constantly being exploited. Grass Country's goods couldn't compete with those from the Land of Fire, and Hidden Grass Village's shinobi lacked the numbers and skill to rival Hidden Leaf Villages. Now, with the treaty with Hidden Leaf Village still in place, Hidden Rain Village was pressing for a similar agreement, which would only further destabilize the economy of Grass Country. As the village leader, the Hidden Grass Village head found it impossible to accept such harsh conditions. At that moment, Mua couldn't stand by any longer. He stepped close to the Hidden Grass Village leader and whispered, "Leader, the box of ultimate bliss is lost. We no longer have any means to resist. Also, Hidden Rain Village holds the moral high ground in this case, and their offer appears quite fair. It seems we have little choice. If you still insist on opposing them, who knows what they might do." Mua wasn't just a Hidden Grass Village Jonin, he was a core Hawk member and the warden of Hazuki Castle. Hearing this from the semi-autonomous Hazuki Castle's warden, the Hidden Grass Village leader realized he had no room to negotiate. Reluctantly, he approached Byakuya and said, "Hidden Grass Village is willing to cooperate with Hidden Rain Village." Seeing the Hidden Grass Village leader agree, Byakuya nodded approvingly and then whispered to Nagato, "Nagato, I'll leave the rest of the details to you. I'm not great with the finer points of negotiation, but I trust you'll handle it and keep them in line." Nagato felt slightly nervous, but Byakuya had already disappeared, leaving him no choice but to put on a cold, expressionless face as he took over the negotiations. This blank expression, however, proved highly effective. The Hidden Grass Village leader and his companions were immediately intimidated by his inscrutable demeanor, feeling thoroughly subdued. Upon witnessing this scene from the shadows, Byakuya couldn't help but marvel at the unexpected advantages of Nagato's socially withdrawn nature. In the past, when Nagato was still a war orphan, his social anxiety might have been seen as introversion or aloofness, but now, with Kage-level combat abilities, that same disposition came across as dignified and imposing. In the dark forest that is the ninja world, strength dictates everything. Powerful individuals like the first Hokage, Madara Uchiha, and even the current Sannin of Hidden Leaf Village each have their own flaws. Yet, as long as they're strong enough, others naturally fall in line. Byakuya's current strength might be formidable enough within the ninja world, but he still found himself lacking when compared to certain monsters. He didn't set overly high standards for himself, he only aimed to be clearly stronger than the current reincarnations of Azura and Indra. Ideally, he'd like to be strong enough to defeat Kaguya Otsutsuki. Meanwhile, elsewhere, a Byakuya clone, having set up a ceiling formation, finally awaited the arrival of his expected visitor. Once underground, Orochimaru's eyes fell immediately on the ominously decorated box of ultimate bliss. After a brief glance, he addressed Byakuya. Byakuya, you summoned me here just for the box of ultimate bliss? Byakuya looked at Orochimaru and replied, it sounds like you're already quite familiar with the box. Not surprising, Orochimaru-senpai, with your vast knowledge, must have heard of such a legendary artifact long ago. But don't you have any interest in this treasure, said to grant any wish? It's hardly a treasure. Orochimaru paused, then continued, I've studied the history of the Land of Grass. Every time the box of ultimate bliss was opened, it resulted in terrible destruction, and those who attempted to open it often met mysterious deaths. If it truly were a treasure, Hidden Grass Village would never have been entrusted with it. Byakuya chuckled and replied, I'd expect nothing less from you, Orochimaru-senpai, you know even more about the box than I do. But are you really not tempted to study it? Like, how does it grant wishes? What secrets lie within? Besides, legend has it that the box was left behind by the Sage of Six Paths himself. Does that really not spark your curiosity? Orochimaru's tongue flicked, and after a moment of silence, he replied, Byakuya-san, your words have piqued my interest. But if I uncover anything through my research, does that mean you'll owe me a favor? Orochimaru valued favors with Byakuya highly. The last time, after hearing from Byakuya about the compatibility between wood style and the Uchiha clan, Orochimaru immediately experimented by combining Uchiha blood with Hashirama cells in a certain ratio. Surprisingly, the combination proved stable. This confirmed Byakuya's theory that Uchiha could indeed handle partial Hashirama cell transplants. If it weren't for his pact with Byakuya, and the fact that he was now a rogue shinobi, Orochimaru would have already captured a Sharingan-wielding Uchiha to see if he could create a perfect candidate for wood style. If he ever chose to perform his body-switching technique in the future, such a shinobi would be the ideal vessel. Moreover, a question lingered in Orochimaru's mind, why is it that, of all clans, the Uchiha, the rivals of the Senju, can adapt to Hashirama cells, while even some Senju descendants lack that same compatibility? Chapter 236, Yahiko's Transformation. Could it be that, a long time ago, the Uchiha and Senju clans were actually one family? Orochimaru suddenly found this thought popping into his mind, but he quickly shook his head, trying to dismiss the absurd notion. The Uchiha and Senju clans being related seemed impossible. These two clans, who founded the village of Hidden Leaf Village, had been enemies since the distant Warring States era, with their hatred persisting over centuries. If they truly were one family, why would they have become two clans opposed to each other? At this moment, Orochimaru recalled something and turned to Byakuya beside him. Byakuya-sama, I still have some doubts about wood style. Byakuya looked at Orochimaru with interest and said, what questions do you have? Go ahead. I am listening. Orochimaru didn't hold back, immediately asking, last time, you mentioned that the Sharingan and Uchiha bloodline can neutralize the berserk nature of Hashirama cells, because yin release and yang release need to maintain balance. But after several days of experimentation, I'm beginning to wonder if there's a deeper reason behind this. Orochimaru paused for a moment, then revealed his bold hypothesis. I have a wild guess, could it be that the Senju and Uchiha clans share a common ancestor? Hearing this, Byakuya felt a bit surprised and looked at Orochimaru with a meaningful gaze. Orochimaru's research talent truly was terrifying. With just a small hint, he'd managed to speculate that the Uchiha and Senju might indeed have a common ancestor. Now, should he mislead Orochimaru, or affirm his guess? After a brief consideration, Byakuya made his decision and slowly said, Orochimaru-senpai, your hypothesis is not without merit. It's possible that, hundreds of years ago, the Senju and Uchiha were once part of the same family. After all, my clan, the Uzumaki, was once just a branch of the Senju clan. Receiving Byakuya's confirmation, Orochimaru's eyes lit up immediately. He extended his hand as if he had grasped something in the air, his mind brimming with thoughts. Byakuya's reasoning made perfect sense. If the Uzumaki clan could be a branch of the Senju, then it wasn't impossible that, long ago, the Senju and Uchiha were part of the same family. But if this were true, the shared ancestor of the Senju, Uzumaki, and Uchiha must have been immensely powerful. Perhaps even Hashirama Senju, the first Hokage, couldn't compare to this ancestor. Seeing Orochimaru deep in thought, Byakuya's lips curved into a subtle smile. If the system wasn't here, he might indeed worry that Orochimaru would research some formidable secret technique that could threaten his safety. But with the system in place, Orochimaru's increase in strength was equivalent to his own increase in strength. After some small talk, Orochimaru and Byakuya didn't linger in the area. After summoning Manda from Ruchi Cave to help transport the box of ultimate bliss, the two of them headed toward Hidden Rain Village. 3 days later, Byakuya and Nagata returned to Hidden Rain Village with the Hidden Grass Village leader in tow. The Hidden Grass Village leader hadn't come to Hidden Rain Village of his own will, but under Nagato's display of force, he had no choice but to follow. Throughout the journey, the Hidden Grass Village leader observed the smooth roads, the quiet and peaceful villages, the cloud-piercing spires, and the billowing black smoke rising above. Seeing these sights, the Hidden Grass Village leader felt a chill in his heart. Having witnessed the sights in Hidden Rain Village, the leader of Hidden Grass Village gained a deep understanding of the Hidden Village's true strength. Although Hidden Rain Village's territory was similar in size to that of Hidden Grass Village, its overall power clearly rivaled that of the 5 great shinobi villages. After all, in the context of the shinobi world, 2 key indicators of strength are the number of top-tier fighters and logistical capabilities. Hidden Rain Village's elite forces were beyond question. With Byakuya and Nagato, it boasted at least 3 Kage-level shinobi. Additionally, the towering steel factories visible throughout the village stood as testament to Hidden Rain Village's impressive production capacity. Seeing this industrial power, the Hidden Grass Village leader felt a mix of anticipation and nervousness about the upcoming meeting but soon composed himself. For a small shinobi village like Hidden Grass Village, survival had always been about navigating between the powers of larger nations. Originally squeezed between Hidden Stones Village and Hidden Leaf Village, Hidden Grass Village now simply had another force, Hidden Rain Village, to contend with. It didn't seem all that different. As for the so-called cooperative development that Nagato and Byakuya mentioned, the Hidden Grass Village leader held no faith in it. In the brutal, competitive dark forest of the shinobi world, it was the law of the strongest. Small countries like Hidden Grass Village didn't even have a seat at the table. At the village gates, Yahiko and Conan came out to greet Byakuya's group. Seeing the Hidden Grass Village leader, Yahiko immediately stepped forward and took his hand, speaking with excitement. "Leader of Hidden Grass Village, you've finally arrived. I've been looking forward to meeting you for a long time." The Hidden Grass Village leader glanced at Yahiko, forcing a smile. "I've long admired you, Yahiko-dano. Meeting you today, you are even more capable than I'd imagined. With you here, Hidden Rain Village truly seems to be flourishing." "Oh, not at all. It's the result of everyone's efforts," Yahiko replied humbly. After a brief pause, he continued, "The journey from the land of grass must have been exhausting. Why don't you rest at the guest house first, and we'll begin our formal discussions tomorrow?" The Hidden Grass Village leader noticed the look in Yahiko's eyes and nodded politely. "In that case, I won't refuse your kind offer." Once the Hidden Grass Village leader had been escorted away by Hidden Rain Village shinobi, Yahiko turned to Byakuya and Nagato with a slightly incredulous expression. "Byakuya, Nagato, you two really went above and beyond. You set out to deal with Hidden Grass Village's rogue shinobi problem, and you ended up bringing back their leader. For efficiency's sake, of course." Byakuya chuckled and added, "And this time, I didn't go looking for trouble. It was Nagato who initiated the encounter with Hidden Grass Village shinobi, and he even managed to capture their Jonin." Nagato's face stiffened, and he explained awkwardly, "Yahiko, I didn't expect them to see through my disguise. To protect myself, I had to make sure they couldn't fight back." So Nagato had practically taken on half of Hidden Grass Village single-handedly? Yahiko was at a loss for words, silently feeling that the leadership of Hidden Rain Village was becoming increasingly unpredictable. It used to be only Byakuya pulling off heart-stopping actions, but now even Nagato had adopted this bold approach. Still, with their exceptional strength, both of them had the right to be impulsive and headstrong. Their actions made Yahiko's upcoming negotiations with the Hidden Grass Village leader much easier. If they could bring Hidden Grass Village into Hidden Rain Village's sphere of influence and fully integrate its resources, then Hidden Rain Village might one day shake off the label of a small shinobi village and force the 5 great nations to recognize a new power, a 6 great shinobi nations. With this thought, Yahiko sighed softly and said, "No, you did well this time. Only by negotiating directly with the Hidden Grass Village leader can we truly resolve the border conflicts. After all, endlessly pursuing peace won't bring true peace to the Akatsuki and Hidden Rain Village." Chapter 237, The Third Hokage's Surprise. Endlessly pursuing peace means the Akatsuki will never see true peace. Hearing these words, Byakuya and Nagato exchanged a surprised glance, both taken aback. The statement itself was unproblematic, but the issue lay in who said it, Yahiko. Yahiko was the Akatsuki's idealistic leader, someone who would rather sacrifice himself to save Conan and secure cooperation with Hidden Rain Village. Yet now, he was displaying a hardline stance that even made Byakuya, who was known for his conservatism, break out in a cold sweat. Nagato took a step forward, voicing his concern. "Yahiko, have you been pushing yourself too hard recently? You're talking a bit out of character." "Exactly." Byakuya nodded and added, "Yahiko, Nagato, you two are not those kind of violent buddies. Bringing the leader of Hidden Grass Village here in this way won't win his true cooperation, nor will it lead to genuine peace. Now that sounds like the Yahiko we know, Byakuya teased. After all, you're the extreme guy, right? The extreme guy? What even is that? Yahiko wiped the sweat off his brow. He had just been deadly serious, sharing his true thoughts, but Byakuya and Nagato had taken it as a joke. What's with Byakuya anyway? Yahiko thought. He used to brush off my earnest advice like it was nothing, but now he's mimicking me so accurately, even down to my expressions. Clearing his throat, Yahiko regained his composure and spoke seriously. What you did was effective, but please don't do it this way again. If the plan had failed, we'd have made an enemy out of Hidden Grass Village, undermining the Akatsuki's mission of unity and cooperation. Now that's more like it, Byakuya and Nagato nodded, satisfied with Yahiko's tone. After all, Yahiko was supposed to be the dovish leader. If he started using the language of the Hawks, then what could the Hawks say? Would they have to argue that these drastic measures were too mild, too conservative? Seeing Byakuya and Nagato's reactions, Yahiko felt a slight twitch at the corner of his mouth. He had thought that, after years together, everyone had changed. But now it seemed they'd changed in some ways and yet, in others, remained exactly the same. Bringing his wandering thoughts back, Yahiko turned toward his office. Byakuya and Nagato had completed their mission by bringing the Hidden Grass Village leader to Hidden Rain Village, but his work had only just begun. He needed to devise a well-thought-out plan that would benefit both sides. After half a year of wandering, Jiraiya finally set foot on the soil of the Land of Fire. Seeing the colossal statues at the Valley of the End and the familiar faces on the Hokage Rock, Jiraiya felt a profound sense of relief, and his fatigue seemed to melt away. No matter how beautiful the landscapes of the shinobi world were, Hidden Leaf Village was the one place he could never leave behind. Taking a deep breath, Jiraiya walked into Hidden Leaf Village, and within minutes, he arrived at the Hokage's office, where he found the third Hokage, Hiruzen Saratobi, smoking as usual. The third Hokage could never kick his smoking habit. When he was in a good mood, he'd smoke to celebrate. When he was in a bad mood, he'd smoke to calm his nerves. He could always find an excuse for a cigarette or two. Old man, smoking isn't good for your health. The third Hokage glanced at Jiraiya and replied, I know smoking's bad, but writing adult novels isn't exactly a wholesome habit either, is it? It's just as harmful to your health. Jiraiya quickly defended himself, come on, old man, you know me. I'm always upright and well-behaved. Going to those pleasure spots is purely for research, nothing else on my mind. If you did have something else on your mind, I'd think you were at least a normal person, the third Hokage thought, keeping his retort to himself. Then he asked, you've been gone for over 6 months now. Did you find anything useful? Any news about Orochimaru? At the mention of Orochimaru, Jiraiya's expression grew more serious. I've run into him a few times, but no matter how hard I tried to convince him, he has no intention of returning. Frankly, I'm not strong enough to take him down. Are you really not strong enough to handle Orochimaru? The third Hokage decided not to call Jiraiya out. He knew the truth, Jiraiya simply couldn't bring himself to harm Orochimaru. Neither could he, even as Orochimaru's former teacher. His own feelings had prevented him from delivering the final blow to his prized student, otherwise, Orochimaru would never have had the chance to escape. After a deep breath, the Hokage asked, besides news of Orochimaru, did you come across anything else of interest? Jiraiya nodded and began to recount his experiences traveling through the different countries. Listening to Jiraiya's stories of his journey and encounters with shinobi from all over the world, the third Hokage's eyes showed a hint of envy. He, too, wished he could witness the splendor of the shinobi world firsthand. Unfortunately, he'd never had the luxury. Before becoming Hokage, he'd worked under Tobirama-sensei, enduring the brutal First Shinobi War. And ever since becoming Hokage, he hadn't been able to leave Hidden Leaf Village. His duties had kept him close to the village and its daimyo city, only venturing to the borders during the Second Shinobi War. In these turbulent times, he could hardly afford to leave the village. Perhaps this was why Jiraiya had always turned down the role of Hokage. He knew how it would restrict him. After sharing his thoughts on the situation in various lands, Jiraiya then spoke about his time in Hidden Rain Village. Unlike his journeys to other countries, Hidden Rain Village had a unique significance. Many of its high-ranking officials were Jiraiya's former students. This time, he'd even been invited to explore the inner workings of Hidden Rain Village, exchanging insights with its leaders. When he mentioned that Hidden Rain Village's ninja academy ran for 7 to 9 years, the third Hokage paused, surprised. The current 6-year program in Hidden Leaf Village was already a hard-fought compromise, balancing various factions to ensure graduates left with near Chunin-level competence. But a 7 to 9-year program in Hidden Rain Village? Were they training their ninja to be Chunin captains straight out of the academy? Noticing the Hokage's surprise, Jiraiya clarified, "Old man, Hidden Rain Village isn't just aiming to train Chunin. They want to develop versatile talents in different areas. Byakuya and Yahiko believe that ninja should have more career options beyond being mercenaries. They're working to introduce chakra education to all Hidden Rain Village citizens so that everyone can learn at least a few jutsu." The third Hokage fell silent at this. Teaching all villagers ninjutsu? Making everyone a ninja? Even his own teacher, Tobirama, had never dreamed of implementing such an audacious and radical policy. Was Hidden Rain Village really bold enough to attempt something like this? Chapter 238, Third-Rate Ninja. If Jiraiya's words were accurate and Hidden Rain Village truly implemented widespread ninja education, then its overall strength would undoubtedly see a significant surge, potentially putting it on par with the 5 great ninja villages. For Hidden Leaf Village, this wouldn't exactly be good news since it would mean another formidable rival emerging to its northwest. However, the first to feel the pressure of Hidden Rain Village's rise would likely be Hidden Stones Village, as Hidden Rain Village sits directly on Hidden Stones Village's path of expansion. With this in mind, the third Hokage realized that Hidden Rain Village's development might not be entirely unacceptable. After all, Hidden Leaf Village was used to dealing with multiple fronts. Whenever a new shinobi world war broke out, no matter where it started, the surrounding villages would eventually find a way to drag Hidden Leaf Village into the conflict. As the third Hokage frowned in thought, Jiraiya couldn't help but ask, "Old man, do you think Hidden Rain Village's approach is something we could adopt here in Hidden Leaf Village? If we could implement something similar, it would surely make the village even stronger." "You mean reforming Hidden Leaf Village like Yahiko has done with Hidden Rain Village?" The third Hokage fell into a deep contemplation, envisioning an era where every citizen of Hidden Leaf Village was a trained shinobi. But he quickly shook his head, dismissing the notion. The population of Hidden Leaf Village and its surrounding lands was well over 100,000. If Hidden Leaf Village truly could train that many ninja, then it would become an unstoppable force in the shinobi world, potentially outmatching all the other villages combined. But training ninja isn't so simple. Even producing one competent genin required substantial time and resources. The nearly 10,000 shinobi in Hidden Leaf Village were already pushing the limits of the Land of Fire's budget. If they attempted to train tens of thousands more, the Land of Fire's finances would likely collapse under the strain. Furthermore, if Hidden Leaf Village were to expand its forces too aggressively, it might also provoke suspicion from the daimyo's office. Sighing, the third Hokage told Jiraiya, "The conditions in Hidden Rain Village and Hidden Leaf Village are very different. We can't easily undertake such reforms here." Jiraiya's expression dimmed. He had thought he'd finally come up with a good idea, only for it to be dismissed outright by the old man, without even a proper discussion. He wondered whether the Hokage found the idea too difficult or simply had no interest in any kind of change. After all, could reforming Hidden Leaf Village truly be harder than what Yahiko and Byakuya had done, starting Hidden Rain Village's transformation from scratch? Just the fact that he hadn't encountered Hanzo at all during his visit was telling. Hanzo surely hadn't relinquished his authority willingly. Jiraiya's students must have secretly orchestrated a power shift. If he ever wanted to undertake similar reforms, would he also need to go down that path? Jiraiya looked at the portraits of the previous Hokages, then at the third Hokage himself, and dismissed this absurd notion. If he were to become Hokage someday, he would do it through legitimate means, not by underhanded tactics. Leaving thoughts of reform aside, Jiraiya remembered Minato's son, Naruto, and asked, "By the way, how's Naruto doing?" "Naruto?" The third Hokage thought for a moment and replied, "Naruto's a good kid. He's inherited Minato's sunny disposition. Last I heard, he was busy helping out around the village." Jiraiya nodded softly, reassured. He trusted the old man to take care of Naruto. Even without considering his status as the son of a hero, Naruto's role as a Jinchuriki was reason enough for the third Hokage to prioritize his well-being. After all, it was only by ensuring that a Jinchuriki felt loved and accepted that their village could fully harness the power they held. At this moment, Jiraiya suddenly had a thought and said, "Old man, do you think Naruto has the potential to become Hokage one day? He's bound to inherit Minato's talent, plus he's the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki." The third Hokage was slightly taken aback but then chuckled, "Maybe he could. But by the time he's grown, this old body of mine will probably be long gone." "Don't say that, old man. I think you've got at least another 20 years in you," Jiraiya replied with a grin. "In 20 years, you'll be an old man too. Haven't you ever thought about taking over?" the third Hokage asked with a teasing smile. "I've got other things to do, so I'll be going now. As for picking the fifth Hokage, you keep thinking on it, but don't count on me," Jiraiya said casually, leaving the Hokage's office and disappearing into the streets. Watching Jiraiya's retreating figure, the third Hokage extinguished his pipe, sighing softly. His eyes reflected a sense of loss and complexity. It felt as though there was now a gulf between him and Jiraiya that couldn't be easily bridged. At the Root organization's base, though the third Hokage had placed some restrictions on Root, it still wielded significant power within Hidden Leaf Village, as long as the village continued to require a covert force to handle its dirty work. Shortly after Jiraiya's return to the village, Denzo received a report detailing the time Jiraiya entered and left the Hokage's office, along with fragments of their conversation. Because the Hokage's office was well insulated, the spies from the Anbu division could only make out a few words here and there. But to Denzo, those fragments were more than enough to start piecing together the third Hokage's intentions. The report mentioned that Jiraiya and the third Hokage discussed both Hidden Rain Village and the Ninetales Jinchuriki. The Ninetales Jinchuriki was understandable. After all, he was Minato's son, and Jiraiya, as Minato's mentor, would naturally be concerned about him. But why would Jiraiya and the third Hokage talk about Hidden Rain Village? Hidden Rain Village was the village controlled by that kid, Byakuya. Could it be that during Jiraiya's recent journey, he encountered Byakuya's influence or was perhaps even mentally manipulated by him? However, Jiraiya's mental state appeared stable, showing no signs of control. This led Denzo to another possibility. Could it be that Jiraiya's so-called search for Orochimaru was a cover? Perhaps his real purpose was to seek Hidden Rain Village's support in his bid for the fifth Hokage position. Denzo's eyes narrowed, and his expression grew dark. Jiraiya was indeed a popular candidate for Hokage, but Hidden Rain Village's people were notorious for their underhanded tactics. There was a chance that Jiraiya might have adopted some of their methods. Denzo even began to imagine a potential reason for Jiraiya to launch a coup. Jiraiya had long expressed disdain for the advisory council members. If he ascended to the Hokage position through the normal process, he'd have to contend with the council's influence. Only by staging a coup and purging the current leadership could he freely wield the power of the Hokage and then plunge Hidden Leaf Village into an irreversible abyss. Yes, Denzo firmly believed Jiraiya lacked the qualities to be Hokage. To him, the Hokage needed to be a decisive figure, someone with a ruthless streak who didn't hesitate when making tough decisions. Jiraiya, in contrast, was too indecisive, a third-rate ninja who placed his hopes in others rather than taking charge himself. Chapter 239, A Different Perspective. After leaving the Hokage Tower, Jiraiya strolled aimlessly down the street by himself. Besides wanting to find a nice bathhouse to unwind after months of traveling, he also wanted to check in on Naruto, see how he was doing, and if there was any way he could help him out. Although the old man, the third Hokage, was surely doing his best to look after Naruto, he was a busy man with little time to spend with him personally. Not long into his walk, Jiraiya spotted Naruto. The boy was helping an elderly woman cross the street, guiding her to the other side. Afterward, Naruto wiped the sweat from his brow and flashed a bright smile. Jiraiya stopped in his tracks, feeling his vision blur as he was struck by the sight. For a moment, he could see a young Minato, who was just as kind-hearted and eager to help anyone in need. Naruto and Minato's images seemed to overlap, merging into one. Noticing Jiraiya staring, Naruto quickly ran up to him and handed him a tissue. "Hey, Mr. Ninja, you don't look so happy. Are you going through something tough?" Taking the tissue, Jiraiya chuckled and replied, "Just some memories from the past came up." "But you, kid, do you help people cross the street every day?" "Not just that," Naruto counted off on his fingers, "I've also helped push carts, carried stuff, and even run errands. Don't let my age fool you, I know a lot of things." Jiraiya guessed one reason Naruto might be doing all this. "Is it because you don't have enough food to eat?" Naruto shook his head. "The Hokage gives me enough allowance, but the shopkeepers usually sell me food that's about to expire, and it goes bad quickly. I started wondering if I'd done something to offend them. But since I started doing good deeds every day, their looks have softened a bit. I think maybe now they see me as part of the village." Listening to Naruto's experiences, Jiraiya's heart felt heavy. He couldn't understand why Naruto had faced such discrimination. Naruto hadn't done anything wrong. Minato and Kushina were heroes who saved the village. Even so, Jiraiya was relieved to see that, despite the prejudice he'd faced, Naruto had earned the villagers' acceptance through his own efforts. It showed that Naruto's strength of character was no less than Minato's, though he was still just a child forced to think about these things. Jiraiya couldn't help but feel some heartache for his young protege. Moved, Jiraiya pulled out a few bills from his wallet and said grandly, "Consider this a reward for all the good you've done. It's yours." Naruto, however, shook his head and refused. "I don't do good deeds for a reward, mister. Keep your money, I can't take it." Jiraiya was taken aback but soon broke into a smile as he put the money away. "You're right, kiddo. How about this, I'll treat you to a meal at the Akimaki family's barbecue place." After some gentle insistence, Naruto agreed and went along with Jiraiya to the barbecue restaurant. After a hearty meal, Naruto left with a full belly, while Jiraiya quietly disappeared after paying the bill. Looking around, Naruto couldn't find any trace of him and muttered to himself, "What a strange guy. Suddenly complimenting me, then treating me to a meal. It's like he knows me or something." Even though it was their first time meeting. As if sensing Naruto's thoughts, a voice murmured in his mind. It was the enigmatic Black Zetsu. "Naruto, the ninja who was with you just now is very strong. Even in my time, people like him were rare. He seems to care about you deeply, perhaps he knows something about your past." Naruto paused for a moment before sighing softly to himself. "If he does know my past, he probably won't tell me, either." Naruto sighed, frustrated by the familiar feeling of knowing that another powerful ninja might know the truth about him but would likely never share it, just like the third Hokage. The Hokage always promised that he'd reveal everything once Naruto proved himself, yet despite all his efforts, that moment still hadn't come. With a hint of exasperation, Naruto murmured, "Old Man Black, what should I do next?" "I'll listen to you. Keep doing good deeds," Black Zetsu's voice echoed in Naruto's ear. "One day, you'll earn everyone's approval." Though Black Zetsu himself was uncertain why he was guiding Naruto to spread kindness rather than revealing the harsh realities of the ninja world, he was simply following Byakuya's orders. In the past, Black Zetsu would have driven Naruto toward a darker path, exposing him to the worst of the ninja world to manipulate him, much as he had done with past reincarnations of Indra. But Byakuya's plan seemed intent on crafting a fairy tale-like world for Naruto, one where he would see only the good in others. As Naruto rested by the roadside, night began to fall. Just as he was about to return home, the sound of a scuffle caught his attention. He paused, then decided to follow the noise. Arriving at a small park, Naruto saw a group of children surrounding a girl, apparently bullying her. Unlike the other children, this girl had unique, pale eyes that seemed almost alive. Noticing the distinctive white eyes, Black Zetsu felt a flicker of surprise. Those eyes were the Byakugan, a symbol of his ancient Otsutsuki clan. But the true Otsutsuki bloodline had long since vanished from the ninja world, and the Hyuga clan in Hidden Leaf Village were mere descendants of Hamura. Still, he thought, the descendants of Hamura had fallen rather low to let themselves be cornered by ordinary humans. Naruto, seeing the situation, turned to Black Zetsu and asked, "Old Man Black, what should I do? Should I step in and stop them?" Black Zetsu nodded. "Of course. Ignoring bullying isn't the behavior of a good person. Don't you want to be accepted by everyone in the village?" Naruto hesitated, biting his lip. "But if I interfere with that group, will they still accept me?" Faced with this moral dilemma, Naruto felt conflicted. His desire for acceptance was so strong that it made decisions like this challenging. Uninterested in dealing with Naruto's indecisiveness, Black Zetsu replied coldly, "This is your choice, not mine." Taking a deep breath, Naruto resolved himself and rushed over to the group, shouting, "Hey! I already called your parents. If you don't want a bamboo stick stir-fry, you'd better scram." At his words, the children scattered in fear, leaving Naruto standing next to the girl with the pale eyes. Watching the scene, Black Zetsu narrowed his eyes thoughtfully. Naruto's instinct to save the girl was certainly influenced by Asura's chakra, but there was something different about him. Unlike previous incarnations, Naruto seemed to genuinely want to help others, not just because of his lineage or destiny, but from his own desire to make a difference. Chapter 240, The Main and Branch Families. Black Zetsu found himself deep in thought, noting how Naruto seemed different from past reincarnations of Asura. In his experience, Asura's reincarnations were always raised within communities, surrounded by friends and supporters, nurturing their belief in the power of camaraderie. But Naruto, like Indra's reincarnations, was isolated and alone. Could it be that Naruto was actually Indra's reincarnation? Yet his bright, optimistic nature was undeniably Asura's. As Black Zetsu's gaze shifted to the girl with white eyes, so pure and unmarred, he couldn't help but feel a flicker of recognition and curiosity. Meanwhile, on Naruto's end, after rescuing the white-eyed girl from a gang of unruly kids, Naruto was about to leave. But he was caught by the girl's wide, grateful gaze, her eyes full of both admiration and innocence. Faced with her gaze, Naruto couldn't help but pause, then extended his hand with a friendly smile. "I'm Naruto Uzumaki. What's your name, and where's your home?" The shy girl responded in a soft voice, "Hinata. Hinata Hyuga. Thank you so much for helping me. I don't know what I would have done without you." Scratching his head, Naruto felt a bit embarrassed. "Oh, it was nothing. I just pretended to know their parents. I actually don't know any of them." Hinata, twiddling her fingers nervously, quietly added, I'm actually a little lost. Could you help me find my way back home?" "Lost?" Naruto blinked in surprise, then quickly nodded. I know where the Hyuga compound is. I've seen the signs. It's no big deal, I'll take you there. With a small, grateful smile, Hinata replied, "Thank you, Naruto-kun." In a matter of moments, Naruto gently took Hinata's hand and led her toward the Hyuga compound. Soon, they arrived at the edge of the Hyuga grounds, where several Hyuga guards with forehead protectors waited. Naruto handed Hinata over to the guards and turned away without looking back, setting off for home. After they left, Black Zetsu suddenly realized why something had felt odd. Hinata's eyes were unusually pure, even by Hyuga standards, approaching the level of a true Otsutsuki. If he didn't know that his mother was still sealed on the moon, he might have suspected that she had somehow reincarnated. It had been many years since he'd seen Byakugan of such high purity. Shaking off his wandering thoughts, Black Zetsu turned his attention back to Naruto, teasing him lightly, "You just did another good deed. How does that make you feel?" Naruto grinned, rubbing the back of his head as he thought back to his interaction with Hinata. "Not bad. I didn't think there were people in the village who admired me. Hinata might just be a kid, but I believe that someday the others will accept me too." Though Black Zetsu still didn't believe in Naruto's dreams, he gave an encouraging response. "Well, I support your decision, for now." The more Naruto idealized the people of Hidden Leaf Village, the greater the shock he would face when those ideals inevitably shattered. When that moment came, Black Zetsu knew Naruto would be more likely to accept him as a mentor and ally. For now, though, he only needed to offer Naruto steady support. Hearing Black Zetsu's words, Naruto nodded softly and continued on his way home. He had experienced so much that day, it was finally time to rest. After all, he would need a good night's sleep to be ready for the academy entrance ceremony in a few days. In Naruto's mind, the first step of his plan was clear: win over the villagers by doing good deeds and changing their opinion of him. The second step was to enroll in the Ninja Academy, where he would train to become a skilled ninja, and eventually rise to the ranks of Jonin and even Hokage. Naruto didn't fully understand what it meant to be Hokage, but he knew that the most respected person in the village was the Hokage, and he wanted to become that person someday. After Hinata was escorted back to the Hyuga main house, 2 branch family guards kneeled in the main hall, reporting to Hayashi Hyuga, the head of the clan. "Lord Hayashi, Lady Hinata has returned safely." Hearing this, Hayashi's expression softened slightly. He turned his gaze toward his daughter, who stood there trembling, and sighed quietly. Today had been an important day for the Hyuga clan. It was their annual ancestral ceremony, a day to honor their forebears and hold the caged bird ceremony. The caged bird ceremony was a unique tradition of the Hyuga clan, designed to protect the clan's Byakugan from falling into enemy hands. Once the main family heir began formal training, all branch family members of the same age were required to have the caged bird seal applied to them. Today, as the caged bird ceremony was about to take place, Hinata, the main family's heir, had suddenly gone missing. Hinata's sudden disappearance had set off alarm bells throughout the Hyuga clan. Unlike members of the branch family, who were protected by the caged bird seal, main family members like Hinata were vulnerable to having their Byakugan forcibly removed and transplanted. Should a rival village acquire a Byakugan, they could potentially develop techniques to counter it. The Byakugan had undeniable strategic value in warfare. Its 360-degree field of vision and multi-kilometer range made it indispensable in battlefield reconnaissance. While other ninja villages had some techniques with similar functions, they were generally restricted to a select few elite jonin and required strict conditions for use. Upon realizing Hinata was missing, Hayashi and the main family elders had scolded every branch family guard present, even suspecting that a branch family member might have plotted against the main family's heir. After all, if the main family's heir vanished, a new one would need to be chosen, giving the branch family a rare chance to gain influence. Fortunately, Hinata had returned safely in the end. After a moment's thought, Hayashi questioned his daughter about what had happened. When he learned that she'd simply wandered off out of boredom, he scolded her sternly. His frown deepened when she mentioned being bullied by a group of children. Hinata had not yet entered the academy, but Hayashi had already taught her the basics of chakra refinement and some gentle fist techniques. While she might not be able to handle adults, she should have been more than capable of dealing with children her own age. In Hayashi's eyes, Hinata's troubles were partly her own fault. Her timid personality and lack of courage even in the face of bullies were worrisome. A gentle nature might be fine for an ordinary girl, but as the future head of the Hyuga clan and an aspiring ninja, Hinata would need a much stronger spirit. Finally, when Hayashi heard Hinata mention a blonde-haired boy, he fell silent in thought. He was familiar with the rumors surrounding the fox demon boy in the village. He knew that the boy, with his blonde hair and Uzumaki surname, was the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki and the son of the 4th Hokage and his wife. If Hinata were to grow close to the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, perhaps it would ease concerns about the future of the clan's leadership. After all, in addition to Hinata, Hayashi's wife was currently pregnant again. Chapter 241, The Sorrow of a Caged Bird. After Hayashi Hyuga's questioning of Hinata ended, the turmoil surrounding the young lady's disappearance was finally over. Once he saw Hinata escorted back to her room to rest, Neji, with his forehead wrapped in bandages, smiled at his father, Hayashi, and said, "Father, I'm so glad that Lady Hinata is safe. I was really worried something had happened to her." Hayashi looked at Neji upon hearing this, his gaze lingering on the mark on his son's forehead for a long time. Today, his only son had been branded with a caged bird seal, and just like him, would be part of the branch family dedicated to protecting the main family, never able to rise above this fate. Even though Neji was far more talented than the weak Hinata, all of this had come about due to Hayashi's own fate. If he had defeated his elder brother in their duel years ago, he would have become the head of the main family, and Neji would naturally have inherited that position as well. But is the caged bird system still even necessary? In the distant Warring States period, the caged bird seal served to protect the secrets of the Byakugan from leaking outside. However, as times changed, the Hyuga clan had come under Hidden Leaf Village's protection, and various ways had emerged to bypass the caged bird seal and steal the Byakugan. While the caged bird seal can indeed control the lives and deaths of the branch family, if a branch member were to let their guard down outside, it's only a matter of time before the Byakugan leaks out. Still, the caged bird system has been handed down for over 1,000 years, and changing it won't happen overnight. At the very least, Hayashi and Neji's generation won't see any hope for reform unless they gain the support of the village's upper echelons or even the Hokage. But Hidden Leaf Village's leadership has always had a delicate stance toward the Hyuga clan, unlikely to interfere with the caged bird system easily. Hayashi also had no leverage to persuade the Hokage. Thinking of this, Hayashi sighed softly and patted Neji's shoulder, saying, "Neji, you must protect Lady Hinata well, even at the cost of your life." "To protect my family, I am willing to give my life." Neji nodded in confusion. At this moment, he didn't understand why his father looked so troubled or what the mark on his forehead truly symbolized. He only nodded in a daze and then headed toward the dojo. There was still time before bed, so he wanted to practice Gentle Fist a bit more, hoping to become the top student in his class and bring honor to the Hyuga clan. As Hayashi and Neji were speaking, a white Zetsu was secretly eavesdropping underground. Since they couldn't freely use the Byakugan within the clan's grounds, neither of them knew of White Zetsu's presence or where their information might end up. In the Akatsuki hideout, Byakuya received intelligence on Hidden Leaf Village. Byakuya had 3 sources of information in Hidden Leaf Village: Black Zetsu, White Zetsu Shiro, and Kabuto Yakushi. Their reports covered the matters that interested him most: Naruto, Denzo, the Uchiha, and the Hyuga. Naruto was the undeniable protagonist in the original timeline, with a series of significant identities: son of the 4th Hokage, Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails, and one favored by the Sage of Six Paths. Denzo was an old senior, necessary for Hidden Leaf Village to prosper, even if through controversial means. Meanwhile, both the Uchiha and Hyuga were like landmines, ticking time bombs that could explode at any moment. Among the wealth of intelligence, there was the most information on Naruto, but for Byakuya, it wasn't of much use. Although Naruto's background was unique, he was still very young and hadn't even tapped into the Nine Tails chakra yet. For now, he was just an ordinary Jinchuriki, with little strategic value. On the other hand, there seemed to be some movement from Denzo. Recently, he'd even summoned Kabuto back from Hidden Stones Village. Perhaps Denzo was plotting against the 3rd Hokage, or perhaps he intended to deal with Nano Yakushi. Nano knew too much, so he might feel the need to send someone to eliminate her. The Uchiha clan continues to act as domineering as always, with their police force often clashing with other departments. Shizue is frequently seen around the Hokage's office, seemingly now serving as a liaison between Hidden Leaf Village and the Uchiha. Once Itachi participates in the Chunin exams and joins the Root organization, the Uchiha's downfall will be imminent. Meanwhile, the intelligence on the Hyuga clan, delivered by White Zetsu Shiro, piqued Byakuya's interest. He had been so focused on recruiting the Uchiha that he had nearly forgotten about Hidden Leaf Village's other gold mine in the Hyuga clan. Although the Hyuga clan only inherited the Byakugan from the Otsutsuki, they have a unique advantage due to their numbers, which can yield unexpected benefits. Strictly speaking, the Otsutsuki on the moon are a branch of the Hyuga in the shinobi world, so recruiting the entire clan might even unlock the Tensei again for him. However, unlike the caged bird-marked Hyuga on Earth, the Otsutsuki on the moon were a branch family that wiped out their own main family, concentrating all eyes in the Great Tensei again. In comparison, recruiting the Uchiha to gain the Mangekyo Sharingan seems more reliable. Regaining focus, Byakuya noted down the Hyuga clan in his schedule. When it came to stirring internal chaos in the 5 great shinobi villages, He always had boundless energy. After sketching a rough plan, Byakuya touched his ring and received a message from Orochimaru. After several weeks of research, Orochimaru had finally found a way to unlock the box of ultimate bliss, inviting Byakuya to observe. He had also made progress with wood-style techniques. The box of ultimate bliss is an ancient artifact from the Sage of Six Paths era, capable of granting the wish of the one who opens it. However, it requires specific jutsu and a chakra level comparable to that of a tailed beast, making it difficult to unlock. For Byakuya, gathering tailed beast level chakra was not an issue. He could easily use the Two Tails Jinchuriki or his own chakra. But in the field of jutsu research, even with his talent as a scientist of the shinobi world, Byakuya could only learn and modify existing techniques. Orochimaru remained the true elite in developing new jutsu. Without further hesitation, Byakuya used body flicker and arrived at a laboratory near the base. In the lab's hall, a massive ceiling array surrounded the box of ultimate bliss at its center, exuding an ancient, eerie aura. Byakuya fixed his gaze on Orochimaru nearby and asked, "Orochimaru-senpai, have you really found a way to open the box of ultimate bliss so quickly, or are you simply eager to examine its insides?" Seeing through his intentions, Orochimaru didn't mind. He had indeed summoned Byakuya here to have him on standby, in case there was something inside the box of ultimate bliss he couldn't handle alone. With a slight smile, Orochimaru replied, "I've completed the jutsu required to unlock the box, but I'll need you to provide the chakra to truly open it." Chapter 242, Enlightenment. After weeks of study, Orochimaru realized that opening the box of ultimate bliss required tail beast level chakra. For Orochimaru at this stage, gathering chakra of such magnitude was not impossible, though it would require considerable effort. He'd need the assistance of all his subordinates and even have to seek help from Richie Cave to amass enough chakra. There were several reasons why Orochimaru didn't actively pursue gathering the chakra himself. Firstly, he wasn't particularly interested in the box of ultimate bliss as he was only researching it to fulfill his promise to Byakuya. Secondly, Orochimaru wanted to gauge the true power of the Akatsuki, especially Byakuya, to see if Byakuya possessed chakra on par with a tailed beast. When Orochimaru made his request, Byakuya didn't refuse. He understood Orochimaru's intentions and took this as an opportunity to impress him once again. Byakuya decided to retrieve the Two Tails Jinchuriki to provide the necessary chakra. Byakuya swiftly disappeared and reappeared at the edge of the seal formation. Following Orochimaru's instructions, he extended his hand and began channeling chakra into the formation. As the chakra flowed, the ceiling array emitted sky blue patterns that quickly merged into the box of ultimate bliss. Observing Byakuya release his chakra, Orochimaru narrowed his eyes, marveling at the unexpected prowess that had emerged in the shinobi world with Byakuya. Previously, Orochimaru had thought his loss to Byakuya months ago was due to poor condition. He also knew that wood-style jutsu had natural advantages over most ninjutsu, which had led to his narrow defeat and subsequent subordination to Byakuya. Orochimaru had believed that with better preparation, he could potentially match Byakuya. But seeing this nearly tangible chakra now, Orochimaru immediately realized that Byakuya had held back during their earlier fight. With such a vast amount of chakra combined with the wood style of the first Hokage, Byakuya's power might already rival, or even surpass, that of the third Hokage, who had dominated the shinobi world for decades. To Orochimaru, it made little difference whether Byakuya's strength merely approached or exceeded the third Hokage's. The third Hokage had mastery over all 5 basic chakra natures and was skilled in ninjutsu, taijutsu, and genjutsu, leaving Orochimaru with no viable path to defeat him quickly. Byakuya posed a similar challenge. Clearing his wandering thoughts, Orochimaru refocused on the box of ultimate bliss, ready to use ninjutsu to open it. Before long, with the box absorbing sufficient chakra, it finally began to show signs of opening, emitting intense rumbling noises. Seizing the opportunity, Orochimaru formed hand seals and cast the necessary ninjutsu. With a loud crash, the lid of the box flew open, and a pitch-black figure with no head or face, but possessing large wings, emerged. This figure reminded Byakuya of a fallen angel from Western mythology, an unrefined version, at that. But why would such a being appear in a ninja world with a Japanese modern setting? Byakuya pondered, though he acknowledged the mishmash nature of the shinobi world. It wasn't unusual for creatures from other realms to appear here, given that there were many other dimensions beyond the ninja world. Perhaps the box of ultimate bliss wasn't even of this world but originated from some other dimension. After scanning the surroundings, the creature named Satori looked at Orochimaru, its liberator, and slowly asked, "Human, who has released me from the box of ultimate bliss, what is your wish?" Orochimaru looked at Satori with interest, surprised that the box could indeed grant wishes. Sharing a glance with Byakuya, Orochimaru understood and said, I wish for permanent peace in the shinobi world, for a land free of war and suffering." Hearing this, Satori, who had no nose or eyes, smirked. "If you sincerely wish for it, I'll gladly help you achieve it." With that, Satori advanced toward Byakuya and Orochimaru at a ghostly speed. In Satori's way of fulfilling wishes, he always took the most straightforward route. For example, if the Land of Grass wanted to become the strongest nation in the shinobi world, he'd simply destroy the other nations. And for bringing eternal peace to the shinobi world, the fastest method was to kill all humans. Without people to define war and peace, the world would naturally achieve peace. However, just before Satori could strike Byakuya and Orochimaru, he suddenly stopped. Only about a meter ahead, a whirlpool sealing technique awaited him, ready to bind him if he took another step, robbing him of his freedom once again. Satori easily dodged the whirlpool seal and planned to attack from another angle, but to his frustration, seals surrounded him on all sides, closing in toward the center. Attempting to force his way through, Satori was soon entangled by adamantine chains, binding him tightly. Sensing something familiar from Byakuya, Satori suddenly showed an expression of fear and curled into a ball. More than 1,000 years ago, he had lived in the shinobi world, enjoying the offerings of neighboring lands. But one day, figures descended from the heavens, and one of them defeated him and sealed him inside the box of ultimate bliss. During his centuries-long imprisonment, his physical body had entirely decayed, leaving only a chakra mass filled with malevolence. If not for the chakra he gained from fulfilling wishes, he would have already vanished from the shinobi world. Yet, even after all these centuries, he couldn't forget the aura of those heavenly beings. Detecting that same presence in Byakuya, Satori understood that this man was somehow connected to those ancient, otherworldly beings. Now unsure if these newcomers would reseal or annihilate him, Satori felt an overwhelming urge to flee. He rushed back toward the box of ultimate bliss. In his eyes, the box that had once confined him was now his refuge. Dragging the adamantine chains, Satori swiftly retreated into the box, slamming it shut to hide in its dark, narrow interior. Witnessing this, Byakuya and Orochimaru were both taken aback and exchanged puzzled glances. According to historical records, the entity within the box of ultimate bliss, Satori, had once destroyed entire nations and was capable of devastating the entire shinobi world if left unchecked. But the creature they saw today seemed surprisingly timid. Chapter 243, Satori's Reward and Ancient Fragments of Knowledge. After witnessing Satori flee back into the box of ultimate bliss, Orochimaru glanced at Byakuya, his eyes seeming to ask, "Did we succeed or fail with this experiment? The creature inside the box doesn't seem to have fulfilled our wish." Byakuya ignored Orochimaru's subtle look and walked directly toward the box. Byakuya had his suspicions about why Satori had shown fear just now. Perhaps it was because he possessed yin-yang release or due to the Ashura bloodline flowing within him. These latent powers within him might have led the box of ultimate bliss to mistake him for an Otsutsuki. After all, while Satori had a keen sense of malice, this perception was undoubtedly chakra-based, which inevitably tied back to the Otsutsuki clan. Lost in thought, Byakuya reached the box and pressed his hand against it again. Having observed Orochimaru's jutsu, he'd recorded its structure, and he was now able to open the box at will. Channeling another tailed beast's worth of chakra, Byakuya cast the jutsu to open the box and then pulled it ajar, jumping into the dimension within. Just as he'd expected, though the box of ultimate bliss appeared small on the outside, it connected to a small alternate space within. Once inside, Byakuya quickly locked onto Satori's position and summoned black rods in his hand, advancing step by step. Now that there were no onlookers, he could unleash his full power. Seeing the black rods in Byakuya's hand, Satori's heart sank as he was reminded of the terror he'd experienced 1,000 years ago. Taking a deep breath, with no escape left, Satori launched an attack on Byakuya. But Byakuya didn't dodge. Instead, he rapidly formed hand seals, creating multiple wood clones, each charging toward Satori. After a brief battle, the entire dimension was filled with towering trees, and Satori's body was pierced by countless black rods, rendering him completely powerless. Although Satori's malice-sensing ability was potent, it relied mainly on speed. In the face of Byakuya's wood style and black rods, Satori had no way to capitalize on his speed advantage. The first hit from a black rod had already sealed his fate. At this moment, Satori's body began to change, disintegrating like burning paper, as if he might vanish at any moment. Within seconds, Satori's physical form disappeared entirely, leaving behind a mass of sentient chakra. Byakuya watched Satori struggle calmly, showing no concern for his potential escape. Satori's current form was similar to that of the nine-tailed beasts, a mass of self-aware chakra. The black rods could control tailed beasts, so controlling Satori was naturally within their power. As a native being of the shinobi world and its surrounding dimensions, Satori's essence was far beneath that of the extraterrestrial Otsutsuki. Realizing he couldn't escape, Satori materialized a pair of eyes filled with resignation and asked, "What will it take for you Otsutsuki to finally leave me alone?" "Otsutsuki?" Byakuya frowned, realizing Satori knew more than he'd expected. After a brief pause, Byakuya responded, "What is this Otsutsuki you speak of? I'm only here to make you fulfill our wish for peace in the shinobi world." "Peace in the shinobi world?" Satori fell silent, seemingly helpless. Seeing Satori's reluctance to speak, Byakuya drove another black rod into him and continued, "You haven't answered my question. What exactly are the Otsutsuki?" Under Byakuya's threat, Satori finally began recounting a long-forgotten history. Over 1,000 years ago, two members of the Otsutsuki clan descended upon the shinobi world. They planted a massive tree at the heart of the land, aiming to absorb the planet's chakra. Before planting the divine tree, the two Otsutsuki hunted indiscriminately across the shinobi world, removing anything that could hinder the tree's growth. Years later, the male Otsutsuki vanished, replaced by a female Otsutsuki, along with the figures of Hagoromo and Hamura Otsutsuki. After being sealed by Hagoromo, Satori lost contact with the events in the shinobi world. Finishing his tale, Byakuya began using a combination of threats and promises to coerce Satori into joining the Akatsuki. Satori had no real choice and could only grit his teeth and agree to Byakuya's terms. Just then, an emotionless electronic voice echoed in Byakuya's mind. "Satori, Chakra Life Form, has joined the Akatsuki. You have acquired the malice detection ability, Satori, Chakra Life Form, has joined the Akatsuki. You have acquired advanced body flicker technique." Byakuya glanced over the rewards. The malice detection ability was quite useful. Although he already had the Kagura Mind's Eye, he had always been weak in detecting malice specifically, so this ability filled that gap nicely. As for the advanced body flicker technique, it seemed to be a form of Satori's teleportation skill, which might come in handy. After claiming his rewards, Byakuya exited the box of ultimate bliss alone. Having confirmed that the box had a limit on its powers, his interest in it had waned. When Orochimaru saw Byakuya emerge from the box, a peculiar expression crossed his face. There were only two possibilities for Byakuya's safe return: either he hadn't encountered the box's creature at all, or he had managed to defeat Satori. Orochimaru quickly dismissed the first possibility. Knowing Byakuya's strength, he wasn't surprised Byakuya had defeated Satori, but his curiosity grew about what was inside the box. Byakuya didn't hide anything and explained the situation to Orochimaru. After hearing about Byakuya's easy victory over Satori, Orochimaru sighed softly, shifting his gaze from the box of ultimate bliss to Byakuya himself. Compared to the box, Orochimaru was more intrigued by the secrets of Byakuya's power, an interest that even surpassed his fascination with wood style or the Uchiha clan. After a few words of encouragement from Byakuya, he left the lab. Orochimaru paced around the laboratory, then glanced toward the box of ultimate bliss. Nearby, on the ground, he noticed a blood-stained tree branch. Picking up the branch without a word, Orochimaru sensed the chakra on it and confirmed that it was Byakuya's. His heart began to race. Though the blood on the branch was minimal, it was enough for him to conduct some research. If he could unravel the mystery behind Byakuya's power, he might even be able to create a vessel with similar qualities, allowing him to perform the reincarnation jutsu on it. Orochimaru had always wanted to explore the limits of ninjutsu, but his frail body had held him back, making his quest for the ultimate secrets of ninjutsu fraught with risk. Only by acquiring a perfect body could he pursue the ultimate secrets of ninjutsu without any reservations. With this thought, Orochimaru smiled, as if he could already see the day his experiment would succeed. Chapter 244, Byakuya's confidence. After Byakuya's figure disappeared, Orochimaru donned a white lab coat and began to analyze Byakuya's cells using various scientific instruments, setting up comparison experiments as well. A few hours later, the data and results came through. Orochimaru stared at the screen, deep in thought. At first glance, Byakuya's cells appeared no different from ordinary human cells, yet they harbored an overwhelming power. Even when compared to Hashirama's cells, Byakuya's cells resisted any attempts by Hashirama's cells to assimilate them. Unlike Hashirama's domineering cells that actively sought to devour and assimilate others, Byakuya's cells were comparatively benign. They didn't aggressively assimilate, yet contained a balanced blend of all chakra attributes. These combined chakra elements did not create any instability, rather, they formed an adaptable, stable cellular structure, essentially a universal cell, with endless experimental potential. Realizing this, Orochimaru was stunned. If only he had more of Byakuya's cells, he might have injected them into test subjects, hoping to cultivate a suitable vessel quickly for his reincarnation. Just as Orochimaru was lost in his musings, a familiar voice sounded behind him. Orochimaru-senpai, how's the experiment coming along? The results are promising. Byakuya's cells have potential comparable to Hashirame's. After speaking, Orochimaru suddenly sensed something was off. He turned around sharply, only to see Byakuya standing there, watching him with a harmless smile. But that seemingly benign smile sent chills down Orochimaru's spine. His clandestine efforts to collect Byakuya's cells had clearly been discovered. He wondered if Byakuya might eliminate him for his actions. Should he escape now? And where could he go if he left the Akatsuki? While Orochimaru wrestled with these thoughts, Byakuya glanced at the data on the screen and remarked, I didn't realize my data indicators were so high, almost on par with the first Hokage's cells. But tell me, Orochimaru-senpai, why did you feel the need to collect my cells secretly? A few drops of cold sweat formed on Orochimaru's forehead as he struggled to find a reply. But Byakuya quickly offered him a lifeline. Orochimaru-senpai, were you secretly gathering my data to help me increase my strength? Orochimaru hurriedly nodded, seizing the excuse. That's exactly it, Leader Byakuya. My research on your blood is to help you become stronger. Good. Byakuya nodded, then continued, I didn't expect you to be so dedicated to the organization's goals. For a moment, I wondered if you were gathering my data with plans to attack me someday. Anyway, in the future, if you need my blood for research, just ask. There's no need to sneak around. Byakuya's tone grew sharp, his gaze turning icy. We're all working toward the ultimate goal of peace in the ninja world. There's no need for underhanded tactics. I despise deceitful people. Orochimaru-senpai, I hope you won't become someone I despise. Otherwise, Hidden Leaf Village won't be the only group pursuing you. At these words, Byakuya's eyes shone with a deadly gleam, like the gaze of a reaper from the underworld. His voice was dripping with menace. Orochimaru understood that Byakuya was warning him. Byakuya had likely known about the secret collection all along, perhaps even left that blood behind deliberately to bait him. Only now did Orochimaru remember that Byakuya, like Kushina, was also a member of the Uzumaki clan. The Uzumaki clan's potent life force and uncanny sensory abilities make them formidable on the battlefield, rivaling even the Hyuga clan. This realization hit Orochimaru hard. His actions had likely been within Byakuya's awareness all along. Such a prospect was chilling, suggesting that Orochimaru would have minimal opportunities to escape Byakuya's detection should he ever try to flee in the future. Amid the unsettling news, there was a silver lining. Byakuya didn't seem to mind his research into his cells. In fact, he even encouraged it, hoping it could yield fruitful results. Leader, Orochimaru said, since I chose to join the Akatsuki, I won't leave so easily. Pausing for a moment, he then added slyly, but, Byakuya-sama, aren't you worried I might gain power surpassing yours through my research? Byakuya laughed confidently. If you truly manage to surpass me through research, that would only show that my strength was insufficient. But a replica is just a replica. Can you really surpass me? He asked, with a glint of challenge in his eyes. Think about it, the first Hokage had the power to bring peace to the world, yet despite all the efforts since his death, none of you who've studied his cells have even come close to matching him, Byakuya added with a smirk. Orochimaru fell silent, contemplating the truth in Byakuya's words. Hidden Leaf Village had launched numerous projects to replicate the first Hokage's power, with even Dobirama Senju and himself participating. But decades had passed, and all they had to show was Tenzo, a mere shadow of the first Hokage's prowess. Byakuya continued, I know why you left Hidden Leaf Village, and I know what your dreams are, Orochimaru-senpai. And yet, I still chose to accept you, even allowing you to study my blood. Do you know why? Orochimaru looked puzzled but ventured a guess. Because you have absolute confidence that no one can surpass you? Byakuya shook his head. You're only half right. Besides my confidence, I don't want to see valuable techniques vanish with time. In the shinobi world, we must leave some legacy behind. We can either become a great hero, like the first Hokage, who quelled the chaos of his era, or leave a lasting impact through techniques, like the second Hokage with his shadow clone jutsu, Byakuya said, eyes gleaming. Don't you want to leave a mark on the shinobi world, Orochimaru? Byakuya's words struck Orochimaru to his core, stirring reflections on his ambitions and legacy. What Orochimaru didn't know was that this was all part of Byakuya's plan. That blood-stained twig had been left intentionally to draw Orochimaru's attention and encourage his research. Byakuya hoped that Orochimaru would extract useful insights, allowing Byakuya's abilities to ultimately benefit the Akatsuki. After all, thanks to Byakuya's system, any enhancements to the organization's members would feed back into his own strength. As the Akatsuki's influence spread across more and more territories, Every invention and policy that strengthened the shinobi world would become fuel for Byakuya's own power. Chapter 245, Methods to Improve the Combat Power of Rain Ninjas. After leaving the Akatsuki's laboratory, Orochimaru respectfully walked Byakuya to the door, not daring to let his guard down again. With such an unpredictable and powerful superior, Orochimaru realized that any future plans to defect would be significantly harder to execute. Despite the constraints, Orochimaru found himself appreciating the Akatsuki's environment. The organization allowed substantial freedom, though he needed to report to Hidden Rain Village periodically. He could spend most of his time in the Sound Village. Compared to the rigid, ideological Hidden Leaf Village, which felt like an elderly entity fading away, the Akatsuki was vibrant and dynamic, like a youthful force, driven by power and ambition rather than any restrictive code like the will of fire. This sense of raw potential and competition was invigorating to him. Not long after leaving, Byakuya noticed a familiar figure with blue hair standing by the roadside. It was Konan, one of the 4 pillars of the Akatsuki. She was dressed in her signature cloak adorned with red clouds, her arms crossed, seemingly waiting. Konan was gazing pensively at the Akatsuki base in the distance. She knew this base well, it held memories and a sense of familiarity from the past. However, the base now looked imposing and impersonal, filled not with her old comrades but strangers Byakuya had recruited, mercenaries like Kakazu and Sasori. Although she understood that this evolution was inevitable as the organization grew, it was hard not to feel nostalgia for the past. Konan worried that the influence of these rogue ninjas might make Byakuya's methods even more extreme. Just then, Byakuya approached her with a smile. "Konan, what brings you here today? Another high-level meeting called by Yahiko?" Konan nodded, saying, "Yes, Yahiko asked me to bring you over. It's time for the monthly high-level meeting." Rolling his eyes, Byakuya muttered, "Another high-level meeting? Didn't we just have one last month?" Hearing Byakuya's light-hearted complaints, Konan's melancholy dissipated, and they soon arrived together at Hidden Rain Village's main building. Inside the meeting room, Yahiko and Nagato were already waiting. The meeting covered both external and internal matters. Externally, Hidden Rain Village had recently secured an unbreakable alliance with Hidden Hot Water Village, and the trade agreement with Hidden Grass Village had strengthened ties with Hidden Rain Village. The mutual trade between these 3 nations was growing into a market comparable to those of the major countries. Internally, Hidden Rain Village had also made strides. After years of development, they now had hundreds of Genin-level ninjas, armed with kunai and explosive tags, capable of fighting at nearly Chunin-level strength. This low-level combat power placed Hidden Rain Village on par with the lower end of the 5 great nations, comparable to Hidden Sand Village. However, Yahiko realized that to spread peace across the ninja world, they still lacked sufficient power. That was why he'd invited Byakuya, to see if he could suggest ways to further strengthen Hidden Rain Village's forces. Upon hearing Yahiko's request, Byakuya was intrigued, raising an eyebrow as he said, "Yahiko, didn't you always oppose military expansion, saying the village's finances were already stretched?" Yahiko's expression turned slightly embarrassed. In the past, Hidden Rain Village had been focused on rebuilding, so its finances were indeed tight, leading to cuts in the military budget. However, after years of development, with newly established markets in the Land of Hot Water and the Land of Grass, Hidden Rain Village's finances were far more stable. The success of trade agreements with these lands had shown Yahiko the appeal of expansion. Through careful investigation, Yahiko had also come to a deep realization. No matter how much Hidden Rain Village improved, this growth could only benefit the people of the Land of Rain. Across the ninja world, it wasn't just the ninja wars that brought suffering, warlords and daimyo inflicted pain on the people as well. To help those outside the Land of Rain, Hidden Rain Village had to increase its combat power. But with a limited population, boosting strength meant finding ways to enhance the overall strength of each Rain ninja. After a moment of silence, Yahiko raised his head and said seriously, "I was too narrow-minded before. If we want to protect Hidden Rain Village and bring lasting peace to the ninja world, our village must increase its military strength." Hearing this, Byakuya dropped his playful tone and began analyzing seriously for Yahiko. To increase the average combat power of the Rain ninja, there were 2 main approaches. One was to leverage external technology, like the chakra armor used in the Land of Snow or kunai guns from Land of the Sky. Although chakra armor was costly, it could greatly enhance a ninja's defense and chakra reserves. In the original timeline, Snow Country's ninjas, with the aid of chakra armor, were able to put up a decent fight against Sycamo Hatake. Another option was Orochimaru's Cursed Seal technique. The technique was derived from Jugo, a ninja born with the ability to harness natural energy. By using Jugo's cells and combining it with Richie Cave's methods of natural energy utilization, Orochimaru had developed the Cursed Seal. However, it was unclear if Orochimaru had even found Jugo yet. Although cursed seal transplants weren't as risky as transplanting Hashirama cells, they still carried a high risk of fatality. After thinking it over, it seemed that chakra armor was the most feasible option for Hidden Rain Village. After a brief pause, Byakuya turned to Yahiko and said, "Yahiko, if we want to increase our combat strength, we need to target the Land of Snow and Land of the Sky and obtain their chakra technology." To go after the Land of Snow and the Land of the Sky? Yahiko fell into deep thought. Chapter 246, Departure to the Land of Snow. Yahiko was not unfamiliar with the name of the Land of Snow. This country, located in the far north of the continent, remained covered in ice and snow year-round. As a result, it had limited interaction with other nations, making it a rather mysterious place. However, Yahiko had never heard that the Land of Snow had developed chakra armor capable of enhancing a ninja's power. As for the Land of Sky mentioned by Byakuya, Yahiko was even less familiar with it. In his understanding, there was no such country as the Land of Sky within the shinobi world, at least, he had never heard of it before. Seeing Yahiko's confusion, Byakuya explained, the Land of Sky is a small nation near the Land of Fire. During the Great Ninja War over 20 years ago, a rogue ninja village called the Sky Ninja Clan arose there. They attacked Hidden Leaf Village using advanced chakra-based weapons from the Flying Fortress, but Hidden Leaf Village ultimately defeated them. Yahiko frowned and asked, "By your account, wasn't the Sky Ninja Village destroyed over 20 years ago? How are we supposed to acquire more advanced technology from them?" The Land of Sky did indeed fall, but that doesn't mean the Sky Ninja Village was completely eradicated. Some remnants of the Sky Ninja still lurk in the shinobi world, and the location of their airborne fortress remains unknown. After a brief pause, Byakuya continued, "For years, I've been sending people to investigate ancient ruins across the shinobi world and have uncovered the locations of several remaining Sky Ninja. We can find them whenever we're ready. Previously, however, our organization wasn't in a position to negotiate with them. But now, things are different." Yahiko pondered this revelation deeply. It turns out that Byakuya, while leading the Akatsuki, had secretly done so much. He had set his sights not only on major nations but also on remnants of once destroyed groups. His thoroughness was impressive. However, this wasn't Yahiko's first day knowing Byakuya. He knew Byakuya always possessed a strong sense of caution and constantly viewed the 5 great nations as potential threats, developing multiple strategies to defend against them. Returning from his wandering thoughts, Yahiko spoke, "I can send someone to negotiate with the Land of Snow to see if we can trade for their chakra armor. But as for the Sky Ninja Village, that will likely have to rely on you." Byakuya shook his head and replied, "I plan to send others to investigate the Sky Ninja Village. And as for acquiring the chakra armor technology from the Land of Snow, I have a better plan. Standard negotiations won't secure such a crucial technology." "True. So the task of acquiring the chakra armor will have to be left to you, then?" Yahiko nodded slightly, trusting Byakuya's abilities as usual. Then, he seemed to realize something and smirked faintly. He couldn't shake the feeling that Byakuya was stringing him along and had everything calculated from the start. And if Byakuya went to the Land of Snow himself, would it cause the same chaos he had stirred in the Land of Grass? He could already picture the Land of Snow's leaders being pressured into signing an alliance treaty. It wasn't that he opposed the idea of an alliance treaty. But if Hidden Rain Village kept up this high profile, it would inevitably provoke the 5 great nations' suspicion. And given Hidden Rain Village's geographical position, it was no better than the Land of Fires. It lay between multiple major powers as a vulnerable frontier. Byakuya, unaware of Yahiko's thoughts, wouldn't have cared much even if he knew. Glancing at Conan nearby, Byakuya extended his hand to her, saying, "Conan, you'll accompany me on this mission. I'll need your help with it." Conan looked a bit puzzled but nodded. She hadn't left the village in some time. With their immediate focus set on the Land of Snow and the Sky Ninja Village, the high-level meeting came to an end. Byakuya didn't depart with Conan immediately but first returned to the base to send 2 Outer Circle members to locate the Sky Ninja Village's ruins. In Byakuya's view, the remnants of the Sky Ninja Village had been quietly active within the shinobi world. The Sky Ninja Village leader, Shinno, was even known for stealing secret techniques from Hidden Cloud's village, which had landed him on their wanted list. His actions were far from discreet. The 2 people Byakuya sent on this mission were Seisaori and Orochimaru. Both Seisaori and Orochimaru were scientists in their own right. If they found Shinno, they might share common interests, which could lead to recruiting Shinno into the Akatsuki. As for why Byakuya personally volunteered to go to the Land of Snow, he had his own reasons. The Land of Snow was highly industrialized, ranking among the top in the shinobi world in terms of chakra-based technology. Many military industries unsuitable for Hidden Rain Village would have to be based there, especially those involving secret or forbidden techniques. After organizing the next few months of tasks, Byakuya and Conan left Hidden Rain Village. Both were skilled in paper-style jutsu and had mastered low-altitude flight. Even in the wet climate of the Land of Rain, they could travel swiftly. On the journey, Byakuya looked back at Conan, noting her ability to keep pace. He realized he wasn't the only one who had grown stronger. After years of intense training, Conan had advanced from an elite jonin to cage-level strength. Her chakra reserves and proficiency in paper style were now on par with her future self, and she had mastered the advanced multiplying paper explosive tag technique, allowing her to use explosive tags more efficiently. With these abilities, Byakuya believed Conan might even stand a chance against the Eight Tails Jinchuriki. While Byakuya observed Conan, she was also watching him. She was long accustomed to Byakuya's superior strength. Byakuya was one of the rare prodigies of the shinobi world, with talents surpassing even Nagato, the reincarnation of the Sage of Six Paths. Compared to Byakuya and Nagato, she and Yahiko sometimes felt like they were lagging behind. Yet as her experience grew, so did her awareness of Byakuya's overwhelming capabilities. She had used every free moment to keep up with him. After some time on the road, they left the Land of Rain and entered the Land of Fire. Looking at the lush forests of the Land of Fire, Conan couldn't help but ask, Byakuya, isn't the Land of Snow to the north? Why are we here in the Land of Fire? Byakuya glanced at her and explained, we need to board a ship from the eastern coast of the Land of Fire to reach the Land of Snow. This route avoids many unnecessary troubles. Also, there's a key person here in the Land of Fire we need to find. Only by finding her can we successfully acquire the chakra armor technology once we reach the Land of Snow. A key person in the Land of Fire? Who are we looking for? Conan grew even more curious, though she trusted Byakuya's judgment implicitly. Since long ago, he had never let her down. Whoever Byakuya sought was clearly deeply connected to the Land of Snow. Chapter 247, The Script of Revenge. After several days of traveling, Byakuya and Conan finally arrived at the capital of the Land of Fire. Although the Land of Fire didn't have an official capital, people generally referred to the city where the Land of Fire's daimyo resided as its capital. It was also the city with the highest number of ninja outside of Hidden Leaf Village. Simply walking down the streets, Byakuya and Conan encountered numerous ninja. Most were from Hidden Leaf Village, with a few wandering rogue ninja mixed in. Amidst the architecture of the daimyo's palace, Byakuya could sense over a dozen unusual chakra presences. These chakra signatures belong to the 12 Guardian Ninja, an elite ninja unit dedicated to the Land of Fire's daimyo. Each member was at least of jonin level strength, protecting the daimyo from enemy assassinations and also serving as a power check on the daimyo himself. Enhancing his sensory abilities with chakra, Byakuya quickly located the daimyo's exact position. The Land of Fire's daimyo was indulging himself within the castle, completely absorbed in luxury. But despite his unseemly behavior, the daimyo remained the highest authority in the Land of Fire and could still command the Hokage. Byakuya wasn't here to deal with the daimyo, nor did he have any interest in solving Hidden Leaf Village's problems. With the evolution of the shinobi world, it was only a matter of time before the ninja villages and the daimyo came into conflict. An internal power struggle within the Land of Fire seemed almost inevitable, unless Hidden Leaf Village was willing to halt its development and abandon the centralized model similar to that of Hidden Rain Village. Returning his attention to the present, Byakuya walked toward a movie theater within the city. Posters and banners covered the entrance, advertising a film titled The Great Adventure of Princess Gale. Seeing this, Conan looked at him with suspicion. Could it be that this Byakuya sought was somehow involved in the cinema? Despite her curiosity, Conan held back her questions and joined Byakuya to watch the movie, treating it as a rare moment of leisure on their mission. After the film ended, Byakuya used the body flicker technique to teleport to a nearby hotel. Inside a luxurious hotel suite, a middle-aged man was speaking with a young woman. Interestingly, the man maintained a respectful, kneeling posture throughout their conversation. Congratulations, Lady Koki. Your debut performance was a great success. If the upcoming films continue to do well, we'll surely gather the funds needed to avenge Lord Kazahana's death. Sandayu-san, I haven't really thought that far ahead, she replied with a faint smile. But I do enjoy being an actress. As long as the audience is happy with my work, I'm content. Whether or not we gather enough funds to return to our homeland isn't my main concern. Besides, I'm no longer the princess of the Land of Snow. I'm just an ordinary person now. And so, Mr. Sandayu, there's really no need to kneel before me. At this, Koki Kazahana sighed, her eyes filled with memories of the past. She couldn't forget the day her father was murdered, nor the betrayal of her uncle who stole her birthright. For now, merely evading the Snow Ninja's pursuit was challenging enough. Reclaiming her title as daimyo seemed impossible. Hearing Koki's words, Sandayu showed a relieved smile. It was better for her to forget the position of the daimyo's heir. If the Snow Ninja were to track her down, they would all be in grave danger. Taking back the daimyo position for Lady Koki would require meticulous planning. Overthrowing Dodo Kazahana, who successfully usurped the throne, would necessitate substantial funding to hire ninjas and even the support of the 5 great shinobi villages. Without their assistance, even if Lady Koki regained her position, holding on to it would be near impossible. At that moment, an assistant knocked on the door, and after receiving permission, entered to deliver a message. "Mr. Sandayu, there's a guest outside claiming to be an investor. He's brought the script and funding and wishes to discuss a movie project with you." A script-bearing investor? Sandayu frowned but agreed to meet with the visitor. About 10 minutes later, Sandayu and Koki found themselves in the reception room with 2 visitors, a man and a woman. The investors were none other than Byakuya and Conan in disguise, using the transformation technique. After a pause, Sandayu spoke up, saying, "I assume you 2 investors are here for the great adventure of Princess Gale. While we are indeed short on funds, we cannot collaborate if the script doesn't meet our standards." Byakuya replied confidently, "Don't worry. We'll make you an offer you can't refuse." He then looked over at Koki Kazahana. She appeared even younger than him, perhaps 15 or 16, yet carried herself with the presence of a true star. It made sense. Others might play the role of a princess, but for Koki, it was her life. As Byakuya examined Koki, Sandayu suddenly felt a bit uneasy. He carefully asked, "Could you tell us what your script is about and how much you plan to invest?" Byakuya nodded and pulled a sheet of blank paper from his bag. At the top, it bore a simple title, "The Princess's Revenge." The Princess's Revenge? Sandayu and Koki's faces instantly tensed as they exchanged wary glances, clearly on high alert as they looked at Byakuya and Conan. Unfazed, Byakuya continued, "Indeed, it's the story of a princess seeking revenge. Think about it, why would a princess, of all people, choose a life of adventure? She must have had a reason, perhaps something that forced her to leave her homeland." Byakuya's words struck a nerve, leaving both Sandayu and Koki visibly shaken. Although Byakuya spoke of a fictional Princess Gale, his implications were clear. He was referencing Princess Koki's real-life escape from the Land of Snow. He seemed to know everything about their past. They hesitated to flee, for 2 reasons: neither was a ninja, and they weren't skilled in combat. Additionally, they were unsure of Byakuya's intentions, uncertain if he was friend or foe. After a long silence, Koki spoke, "What do you think the princess should do? Should she remain an adventurer, or return to reclaim her homeland and seek revenge?" Resting his chin on his hand, Byakuya replied in an unhurried tone, "That depends on the princess herself. If she's given up, then there's no one who can help her. But," he added with a smile, "I'd be more than happy to assist a runaway princess. This is an investment that could yield tremendous returns." Koki fell silent, deeply contemplating his words. After a long pause, she finally spoke again, "What kind of assistance can you offer us, and what price would I have to pay?" Although young, Koki was no fool. She understood that Byakuya surely had his own motives. Byakuya chuckled and answered, "The price is high, of course, but it's still far better than surrendering your entire country to the man who killed your father. Think carefully, and decide whether you need my investment." Chapter 248, Is Byakuya really that famous? After listening to Byakuya's proposal, Koki fell into deep thought, carefully weighing his offer. After a long silence, she bowed to Byakuya and agreed to his terms. She asked for Byakuya and Conan's names, then excused herself to gather her belongings and returned to her room. Once inside, Sandayu, who had remained silent until now, asked, "Lady Koki, why did you agree to their terms? We don't even know which country's ninjas they belong to, let alone if they were sent by Dodo himself." Sandayu couldn't understand Koki's decision. Why would she trust 2 mysterious strangers with such a secretive demeanor? Still, as her retainer, he had no authority to interfere with her choices. Koki sighed softly and replied, "Sandayu, do you think we even have the power to make a choice?" Sandayu lowered his head and murmured, "You're right. I was too short-sighted." For Koki and Sandayu, Byakuya and Conan's arrival left them no room to negotiate. They were already at the mercy of these powerful strangers. Refusing them could very well mean their deaths. After a pause, Sandayu asked, "Lady Koki, should we try to escape, or go with them back to the Land of Snow? I'm worried they might be working for Dodo." Koki replied gravely, "They can't be working for my uncle. If they were, we'd already be dead. Besides, I've decided to cooperate with them to reclaim my rightful place as daimyo of the Land of Snow. If we keep waiting, the people of the Land of Snow will forget us completely, and they'll start to see my uncle as the true ruler." Her gaze grew determined as she spoke, and Sandayu could see in her the spirit of her father, Susetsu Kazahana. With a heavy heart, he silently accepted her decision. Their conversation was quiet, but Byakuya heard every word clearly. He wasn't surprised that Koki agreed to his terms. She had no other options. As a princess on the run, even if she became a beloved national icon and raised a large amount of money, it would be nearly impossible to reclaim her throne from a usurper with the resources of an entire country. In the original timeline, Koki succeeded largely due to Hidden Leaf Village's intervention. Hidden Leaf Village needed allies to maintain the Chunin exam network and chose to support Koki. Beside him, Conan looked at Byakuya for a few seconds, gradually understanding his strategy. If Hidden Rain Village were to acquire Chakra armor technology from the Land of Snow through negotiations, it would be extremely difficult. The Land of Snow wouldn't give up its core technology so easily. Using force, however, could lead to unwanted scrutiny and backlash. In the shinobi world, strength is often what matters, and the strong have little reason to worry about weaker voices. But since Hidden Rain Village is led by the Akatsuki, it has to justify its actions differently from other hidden villages. If they help the rightful heir reclaim the throne, then Hidden Rain Village could acquire the Chakra armor technology with much less resistance. Besides, Byakuya's information network was impressively thorough. He even managed to track down the exiled Koki Kazuhana. Who would believe that the actress playing the princess in a film was actually a real princess? A few hours later, Koki finished packing and arrived at the designated departure spot. Seeing Byakuya and Conan, she asked hesitantly, "Byakuya-sama, are we heading to the Land of Snow right away? Isn't this a bit rushed? Will it really be just the two of you? Don't ninjas usually operate in four-man squads?" Byakuya chuckled lightly. "With me and Conan, it's more than enough. I don't believe the Land of Snow or its snow ninja can stand against us. We're very strong, after all." Byakuya spoke the truth, but Koki still seemed doubtful. Koki suspected that Byakuya and Conan were indeed very powerful ninjas, but her uncle had the support of the Snow Ninja Village. Could even the strongest ninjas possibly stand against an entire hidden village? Still, she had no other choice at the moment but to trust in Byakuya's strength. This was a risky gamble since, if they succeeded, she'd reclaim her place as daimyo of the Land of Snow. If they failed, the price would be her life. Yet, even with the risk, it was better than doing nothing at all. As they made their way to the eastern coast to catch a boat, Byakuya, walking ahead, suddenly stopped in his tracks. A gang of rogue ninjas appeared on the road in front of them, blocking their path. The group consisted of over 10 people, armed with bows and large blades, clearly a gang of ruthless thugs. Seeing these rogue ninjas, Koki and Sandayu swallowed nervously, feeling a growing sense of unease. Byakuya looked at the group, then turned to Conan and said, "You handle the ones behind us. I'll take care of the ones in front." Conan nodded and vanished in an instant. Without any further delay, Byakuya charged at the rogue ninja gang. In just a few moments, he and Conan had knocked every one of them down. Heck, they hadn't even had time to use any jutsu. After capturing the bandits with shadow clone jutsu, Byakuya walked back over to Koki and said calmly, "Lady Koki, let's continue on our way." Relieved to see the enemy dispatched within minutes, Koki looked at Byakuya with gratitude and said, "Thank you so much, Byakuya Dono. With your strength, maybe we really can defeat Dodo." Byakuya rolled his eyes, a bit exasperated, and replied, "Lady Koki, did you think our agreement was a joke? I told you my name from the start. I am Byakuya of the Akatsuki, from Hidden Rain Village." "Byakuya? Is he a famous Jonin?" Koki looked confused. Her knowledge of ninjas was quite limited. She only knew of the 5 great hidden villages and the 5 Kage who led them. Byakuya's mouth twitched slightly. Koki really did know very little about the ninja world. But perhaps that was just as well. This would make it easier for the Akatsuki to influence the Land of Snow. Ultimately, the best role for a daimyo was to become a symbolic figurehead of the nation. After a brief pause, Byakuya added, "I may not be the most famous ninja, but helping you reclaim your title of daimyo is more than manageable. Once you become the daimyo of the Land of Snow, you should start learning about the renowned Jonin of the ninja world." Chapter 249, No Suspense. From the eastern coast of the Land of Fire to the shores of the Land of Snow, the journey took Byakuya and his companions 2 full weeks. Along the way, they encountered several bands of rogue ninjas, ranging from simple bandits to powerful A-ranked missing ninja. However, none proved to be a match for Byakuya and Conan, each falling easily to their combined strength. Upon reaching the Land of Snow, Byakuya and the others donned thick winter coats, preparing for the journey to the capital. Koki Kazuhana and Sandayu Asama, besides bundling up, also wore heavy scarves and dark goggles, wary of being recognized by the local ninja. But Byakuya stopped them, saying seriously, "Lady Koki, you are the legitimate heir of the Land of Snow. There's no need to hide your identity. Let's head directly to the capital. I'll handle any trouble we encounter along the way." Though Koki hesitated, she recalled Byakuya's impressive strength and nodded in agreement. Byakuya was right, she was the rightful heir. announcing her return to the land of snow would rally her father's old allies and the support of the people. As they arrived at the port, she observed the lives of the residents, noting how much worse things seemed compared to when she had escaped years ago. This convinced her further that Dodo's rule was oppressive. How could a man who had murdered his own brother rule fairly? With Byakuya's help, Koki resolved to defeat Dodo and claim her place as the new daimyo. A few hours later. People of the land of snow, I am Koki Kazuhana, daughter of Susetsu Kazuhana. I have returned to. In the square by the port, Koki held up a symbol of her heritage and loudly proclaimed herself as the daughter of Susetsu, vowing to overthrow Dodo's rule. The crowd looked on, expressions full of doubt. They remembered that Susetsu's daughter, Koki, had supposedly died years ago, confirmed by Dodo himself. And even if she were alive, what could this girl do? Could she really reverse Dodo's policies and change their lives? How could a teenage girl possibly wield power? Seeing the doubtful faces, Koki's expression dimmed, and she held out her family emblem once more, signaling Sandayu to step up beside her. Among the crowd, many recognized Sandayu, including merchants and local elites who had previously dealt with him. Sandayu's appearance was almost enough to prove that the girl was indeed the rightful heir, Susetsu's daughter. It also planted seeds of suspicion. Was Susetsu's death, years ago, a conspiracy? Stepping up, Sandayu gave a rousing speech, recounting Dodo's betrayal alongside Koki, hoping to rally support for her claim to the daimyo title. Their public proclamation quickly drew the attention of various factions. Those loyal to Dodo debated capturing Koki and Sandayu to hand them over to their lord. Meanwhile, Dodo's opponents pondered whether to ally with Koki, hoping to gain favor if she reclaimed power. Others were simply bystanders, content to watch as long as the chaos didn't affect them. Whether Dodo or another member of the Fubuki family ruled made little difference to them. In the crowd, several ninja bearing the hidden snow village forehead protector watched Koki and Sandayu intently. 7 or 8 years ago, they had taken part in Dodo's plot to kill Susetsu, helping solidify the snow village as the only ninja village in the land. With such deep-rooted ties, they felt compelled to act, no matter who Koki truly was. Their orders were clear: make sure Koki and Sandayu disappear from the public eye, permanently. The snow ninja held off on attacking Koki and Sandayu, wary of the possibility that they might be under the protection of skilled ninja. If there were no ninja with them, it would be unlikely that they dare return to the land of snow, as fighting without proper intelligence was a huge risk in their line of work. As the crowd in the square grew larger, the snow ninja exchanged glances and decided to withdraw. Rather than risking a confrontation with Koki and her unknown allies, it made more sense to report the situation to Lord Dodo and let him dispatch reinforcements. After running a short distance down the road, they suddenly stopped, sensing something from around a nearby corner. Turning, they found Byakuya and Conan calmly blocking their path. Byakuya spoke in a low voice, "Sorry, gentlemen, but we can't let you go back and alert anyone. We have a job to complete for Lady Koki." The snow ninja exchanged uneasy looks and immediately launched an attack. After creating enough distance, they activated their chakra armor, which boosted their chakra levels considerably. They began to form hand signs, muttering lowly, "Ice style, ice pillar. Ice style, snowflake technique." Upon completing their jutsu, ice pillars shot up from the previously smooth ground, and snowflake-shaped shuriken began to solidify, hurtling toward Byakuya and Conan. Effortlessly, Byakuya and Conan took to the air, evading the ice techniques by flying high above. Seeing their airborne opponents, the snow ninja's expressions shifted from smug confidence to deep concern. Flight was no ordinary ability, as only highly skilled ninjas, usually at the elite Jonin level or higher, could fly. Their squad captain, Nadairoka, gritted his teeth and activated his chakra armor to ascend as well. Forming hand signs, he shouted, "Ice style, shuriken technique." In an instant, countless ice shuriken took shape and launched toward Byakuya. But Byakuya didn't bother dodging. The ice shuriken passed harmlessly through him, and a moment later, he reappeared behind Nadair, landing a powerful punch to his stomach. The blow was so forceful that it incapacitated Nadair instantly. After subduing the Jonin level captain, the rest of the snow ninja surrendered under Conan's relentless barrage of explosive tags. Given the overwhelming power difference, there had been no contest at all. Byakuya seized Nadair's collar and leaned close, whispering, "Your ice style is impressive, but it's clear you're just using the environment here to mimic true ice style. It's not an actual ice style Kekkai Genkai." Chapter 250, Dominant Suppression. When Byakuya saw the snow ninja captain use ice style, he initially thought that the Yuki clan from Hidden Mist Village, who possessed the true ice style Kekkai Genji, might have fled here to escape Obito's persecution and join the snow ninja village. However, after defeating the captain, Byakuya realized that these snow ninja weren't from the Yuki clan. Their ice-style techniques relied on the frigid climate of the land of snow and the amplification from their chakra armor, which made sense. If they had true ice style, they would certainly be stronger than mere special Jonin. Hearing Byakuya muttering to himself, the snow ninja captain looked at him sharply and asked, "Who exactly are you?" "Lady Koki couldn't possibly afford to hire powerful ninja like you." Nadaroka, the snow ninja captain, wasn't a fool. After suffering such a quick defeat at Byakuya's hands, he immediately grasped the overwhelming gap between their power levels. But it baffled him why ninja of this caliber would aid Koki. Snow Ninja Village held little of value for such individuals. Realizing something, Nadare glanced down at his own chakra armor, a potential clue to his opponent's interest. However, Byakuya didn't give him a chance to speculate further. He activated a genjutsu, quickly extracting information about the Snow Ninja Village and its chakra armor from Nadare's mind. The interrogation revealed that Snow Ninja Village was a small, weak village with only around 100 ninja, but they had poured all their resources into developing chakra armor. This armor could boost the user's speed, strength, and chakra capacity to a certain extent. After stripping Nadare of his chakra armor, Byakuya tried it on himself. However, given Byakuya's vast chakra reserves, the armor's effects were trivial. It couldn't even match a basic jutsu he could perform effortlessly. However, Byakuya had other plans for the chakra armor. It could be valuable for his Akatsuki underlings. Though the chakra armor couldn't compare to techniques like Sage Mode or Cursed Seals, it had the advantage of being mass-producible and free from negative side effects, making it ideal equipment for strengthening the Akatsuki's weaker members. At that moment, Conan approached him, having dealt with the remaining enemies, and asked, "Byakuya, now that we've obtained the chakra armor, our mission is complete. What's our next move? Should we stay here and help Koki overthrow her uncle, or leave it for later?" "Of course we're staying to help Koki take the throne," Byakuya replied with a slight smirk. "Akatsuki needs more allied nations." He paused before adding, "I just learned the location of Dodo Kazuhana, the current daimyo. Let's take Koki and head straight to him." With that, Byakuya turned and headed toward the port to retrieve Koki and Sandayu. Conan followed without hesitation. As Byakuya and Conan left, a figure emerged from the snow-covered shadows and dashed toward the depths of the land of snow to report this new development to Dodo. Hours later, Dodo Kazuhana, daimyo of the land of snow and leader of Snow Ninja Village, received the urgent report. Dodo held a unique position in the ninja world. He was both a feudal lord and a head of a ninja village. Years ago, to wrest power from his brother, he had hired mercenaries and established Snow Ninja Village, crowning himself its leader. Upon hearing that Koki had reappeared, Dodo allowed himself a smile. Ever since his successful coup, he'd been searching for her in hopes of unlocking the hidden treasure his brother had concealed in the land. He had, in fact, secretly ordered that she not be harmed, but she had managed to escape with the help of Hidden Leaf Village ninja. But when he learned that two mysterious, powerful ninja accompanied her, his lips twitched. If these ninja had the strength to defeat Nadare, they were clearly formidable opponents. Over the years, Dodo had pushed his chakra armor to its limits, making him nearly as powerful as an elite Jonin. Yet, even with his power, Snow Ninja Village had no other elite fighters. Even with chakra armor, the other ninja could only reach special Jonin at best. Dodo wasn't concerned if Koki had merely hired these two ninjas. However, he worried that they might be emissaries from one of the 5 great shinobi villages. If they sought to use Koki as a pawn, it would be difficult to resist. Still, Dodo reasoned, why would the great villages bother supporting Koki when they could just ally with him directly? As he pondered his strategy, a sudden, thunderous explosion shook the ground. Looking out the window, Dodo's jaw dropped as he witnessed a sight that made his blood run cold. In the distance, 2 figures were rapidly approaching, effortlessly cutting through his troops. Each of his men fell like leaves before them. These figures, of course, were Byakuya and Conan. Byakuya had deliberately left a tracking seal on the snow ninja they'd let escape, making it easy to locate Dodo's position. Noting Dodo's dismay, Byakuya smirked. His objective wasn't just to reach Dodo but to reduce potential casualties by neutralizing his forces first. As the duo closed in, Dodo's face darkened, realizing the intelligence report he'd received had gravely underestimated their strength. These weren't elite Jonin. They were more akin to village elders. Heck, he doubted he could defeat either one in a fair fight. Taking a deep breath, Dodo activated his chakra armor, feeling its energy course through him. Although he knew his chances were slim, he wanted to at least try. After all, if he couldn't defeat these two, his dreams of conquest and elevating the land of snow to a great power were mere fantasies. With his chakra armor fully charged, Dodo took to the sky, forming hand seals and shouting, "Ice style, Twin Dragon Blizzard." 2 spiraling tornadoes of snow and ice shot from his palms, twisting together like twin dragons and hurtling toward Byakuya. The immense whirlwinds consumed everything in their path, even making nearby buildings tremble. In terms of raw destructive power, Dodo's strength was nearly on par with Akage. Even the elite jonin of the great villages would struggle against such an attack. But to Byakuya, this level of jutsu was underwhelming. Quickly locating the eyes of the twin tornadoes, he placed his hands on the ground and invoked wood-style, advent of a world of flowering trees. Enormous trees erupted from the ground, anchoring themselves and sapping the force from the twisters. Seeing the legendary wood-style technique, Dodo froze in shock, just before the massive vines ensnared him, silencing him before he could cast another jutsu. With Dodo subdued, Byakuya dusted off his hands, landing smoothly on the ground. Chapter 251. This is the treasure we need. Seeing this scene, both the remaining Hidden Snow Village shinobi and Koki, Conan, and the others were deeply shocked, taking a long moment to process what had just happened. Dodo's strength was widely recognized by Hidden Snow Village's ninja. They believed that while his power might not rival the 5 Kage of the 5 great shinobi villages, it was not far behind. Yet, before Byakuya, their leader Dodo couldn't resist at all. Koki and Sandayu were also stunned by Byakuya's strength. They had thought he was only boasting about his power. When Byakuya faced off with Dodo, they expected a prolonged battle. To their amazement, the fight ended in an instant, with the man they considered a lifelong enemy, Dodo, defeated effortlessly. Conan also looked on with mixed emotions. She was confident she could defeat Dodo, but not this quickly. After dealing with Dodo, Byakuya dragged him by the collar to Koki and Sandayu inside. The mission to defeat Dodo is complete. Now, it's time to fulfill our agreement. Koki, still in a daze, looked at Dodo, then at Byakuya, before nodded, saying, Lord Byakuya, Koki K's Hana will honor her agreement with the Akatsuki. Whatever you need, please tell me. At this point, Koki no longer brave enough to address Byakuya casually and used a more respectful title. Dodo, still conscious, glared at Byakuya and Koki. If his guess was correct, the jutsu Byakuya had used was wood style, a technique of the first Hokage of Hidden Leaf Village. Once again, Hidden Leaf Village had interfered. Koki, this traitor, would rather make a deal with outsiders than give the treasure of Hidden Snow Village to him. Fuming, Dodo shouted, Koki. The treasure of the Land of Snow belongs to the Land of Snow. By trading it to foreigners, you betray our country. Hearing this, Koki's face darkened. The real traitor is you. If not for you, my father would still be alive, and the people of Hidden Snow Village wouldn't be suffering more and more. Dodo sneered, Koki, I underestimated you. But now that I'm the loser, as a final request, you should at least show me your father's treasure. The ninja with you must be here for the Land of Snow's treasure, right? Koki hesitated briefly before taking out a necklace. She looked at Byakuya and said, my father once told me that the treasure of the Land of Snow is nearby. Let's go together and take a look. If it's of use to you, I'll give it to you. Then let's go have a look. With that, Byakuya cast a glance at Dodo before shaking his head. After a few dozen minutes, Byakuya's group reached a nearby glacier. A massive glacier towered over the tundra, sparkling like a giant jewel. Standing before a cliff, Koki's hand glowed blue, and, before their eyes, the glacier melted at a visible speed, revealing a wide passage through the ice. They followed it deeper into the glacier. Finally, they reached the heart of the glacier, where the long-sought treasure of the Land of Snow lay. Koki and Dodo both felt anxious, uncertain about what Suzetsu Kazahana had hidden here. Illuminated by distant wall lights, the treasure appeared. The Land of Snow's treasure wasn't a powerful weapon, nor an unimaginable hoard of gold or silver. It was simply a few giant heaters, melting the surrounding ice and snow at an impressive speed. In the center of these heaters lay a quiet journal with Susetsu's name written on it. Koki picked up the journal, glanced at it, and, with tears in her eyes, threw it at Dodo's face. Dodo picked up the journal and read it, his expression darkening as he began to question everything. The journal was about Koki and also mentioned the giant heating devices in the glacier. It turned out that the treasure Kazahana Susetsu had spent so much time and money to create was just these heating devices, which served no purpose other than melting the permafrost. He had killed his beloved brother for these worthless things. The betrayal felt unbearable. Emotionally shattered, Dodo laughed hysterically, ha. Susetsu deceived me, deceived the entire Land of Snow. What good are these devices? Koki's face remained cold. This is why you were unfit to be a true daimyo. To my father, the treasure wasn't these heaters but the fertile land that would emerge once the ice was melted, and the hard-working people. With these devices, the Land of Snow can gain more arable land. On the other side, Byakuya and Conan stood with their arms crossed, observing the confrontation between uncle and niece. To Conan, both the true nature of the Land of Snow's treasure and the dispute between the two were intriguing. She especially appreciated Koki's final words, considering the people as the treasure of the land of snow. Looking at Byakuya, she sensed something and said with a hint of surprise, "Byakuya, did you already know the treasure of the land of snow was just a set of heaters? No wonder you chose Koki over Dodo. Koki cares for the people and, as daimyo, would be willing to share the chakra armor technology with us. Dodo, on the other hand, never would. As for the treasure, I did know what the land of snow's treasure was." Byakuya looked intently at the heaters. "But, in truth, the real treasure of the land of snow is these heaters, not the chakra armor technology." Conan was momentarily taken aback, then smiled. "Byakuya, you're absolutely right. These heaters are indeed the true treasure. The chakra armor technology pales in comparison." Byakuya shook his head slightly, as Conan hadn't fully understood his thoughts. He genuinely believed these heaters were valuable. The heaters used chakra as their power source. A device capable of generating heat from chakra was indeed a treasure. If this technology could be harnessed, Hidden Rain Village would never need to worry about energy resources again. For this alone, the former daimyo of the Land of Snow truly had great foresight. Chapter 252, Divergence on Immortality in Byakuya's memory. After the end of the Fourth Great Shinobi War in the original timeline, the shinobi world enjoyed more than a decade of peace. During this time, the nations of the shinobi world developed various chakra-based weapons that rivaled the power of tailed beasts. For example, Hidden Clouds Village developed the chakra cannon, while Hidden Mist Village created an entire chakra-powered fleet, testaments to the vast potential of chakra technology. To advance further, the Akatsuki would not only need to enhance its members' abilities but also embrace technological power. Pulling his thoughts back to the present, Byakuya approached Koki and the defeated Dodo. Glancing at Dodo, whose face was drained of all hope, he turned to Koki and said, "We've taken care of the traitor who usurped power for you. Now, it's time to discuss the payment for this mission." Koki, a bit anxious, responded carefully, "Lord Byakuya, please tell me what you require. I'll do my best to meet your terms." Byakuya nodded, holding up two fingers. "I'll give you two choices. First, hand over the technical data on both the chakra armor and the chakra heaters, and Akatsuki's business with the Land of Snow will be considered complete. The second option is to bring the Land of Snow into the Akatsuki. The Akatsuki will then provide you with protection, ensuring that no one will trouble you again." Koki fell into deep thought, weighing the pros and cons of each option. The first option was the more balanced one. By providing copies of the chakra armor and heater schematics, the Land of Snow would settle its debt with the Akatsuki and be free to pursue its own path. The second option, however, meant that she would effectively become a vassal of the Akatsuki, surrendering the Land of Snow's independence to live under the shadow of the organization. After careful consideration, Koki looked at Byakuya and said, "Lord Byakuya, I choose the second option. I am willing to lead the Land of Snow into the Akatsuki." With this declaration, Koki felt an immense weight lift from her heart. In her years of exile, though protected by Sandayu, Koki had come to understand that the shinobi world was a dark and ruthless place. She desired independence for her country, but she knew that, given its limited power, the Land of Snow could never truly stand on its own. A powerful shinobi like Dodo could seize power in a small nation, yet his strength was negligible before Byakuya. To secure lasting peace for the Land of Snow, they needed the Akatsuki's protection. Without it, there was no telling when another powerful rogue ninja might emerge, plunging her country back into chaos. Seeing that Koki had accepted his terms, Byakuya nodded slightly, patiently waiting for the system's notification. Several minutes passed without any message, causing Byakuya to feel a bit puzzled. After a brief reflection, he guessed the reason. The system hadn't awarded a reward because Koki was not yet the official daimyo of the Land of Snow. The reward would likely come once she formally assumed the title. With Koki's agreement to join the Akatsuki, Byakuya and his team didn't linger on the frozen plains. After a short rest, they set off toward the capital of the Land of Snow. When the citizens of the Land of Snow saw Dodo locked in a prison cart, they were stunned. But upon recognizing Koki and Sandayu, their shock turned into cheers. They had suffered too long under Dodo's oppressive rule. Upon reaching the daimyo's palace, Koki and Sandayu busied themselves with the administrative tasks necessary for her succession. Establishing full control over the Land of Snow and securing Koki's new role as daimyo would take at least a few weeks. During this period, Byakuya and Conan remained in the Land of Snow, helping to stabilize the region while contacting Yahiko to send envoys to finalize the alliance agreement. When things settled down, Byakuya finally found some time to handle the Akatsuki's accumulating matters. As the leader, though he often took a hands-off approach, he alone, knowing the future storylines, could oversee the grander strategy. Meanwhile, in a small nation somewhere in the shinobi world, standing on the edge of a cliff, Orochimaru looked down upon a distant village, a hint of mischief flickering in his eyes. After over a month of investigating the black market, Sasori of the Red Sand and Orochimaru finally tracked down remnants of the Sky Ninja in a remote mountain forest. This small village on a hillside appeared ordinary, but it concealed hidden depths. The ground beneath was not just solid earth, it was a vast fortress. Noticing Orochimaru's expression, Sasori narrowed his eyes and said, "Orochimaru, this is supposedly the Sky Ninja's hideout, but it doesn't look like it." Orochimaru smirked and replied, "I've dealt with Shinno a few times. I know exactly what kind of people work for him. Besides, what other village outside the hidden villages could gather this many shinobi? You know Shinno?" Sasori's face darkened as he questioned Orochimaru, "If you already knew the Sky Ninja's whereabouts, why waste my time?" Orochimaru shrugged, unbothered. "The location of the Sky Ninja village shifts constantly, so I didn't have a precise location. And it's not like this outing has been a waste, we've collaborated on a few targets, haven't we? Ma. It's a pity, though, that you're wasting time on puppetry. Puppet immortality is not true immortality. Those materials of yours are far from reaching their potential." Sasori's face grew cold. "Orochimaru, don't push me to turn you into a puppet. I don't want to break the rules by Akiyasat." Though partners on this mission, Sasori and Orochimaru had a tense, complicated relationship. On one hand, they made an effective team against formidable enemies, often taking down rogue ninjas with bounties on the black market. But on the other, they held irreconcilable differences over the path to immortality. Sasori believed that flesh is weak and ephemeral. True immortality lies in sealing chakra and one's soul within a puppet. Orochimaru, however, is a proponent of soul transmigration, believing that the best vessel for the soul was always a living body. "Just a minor disagreement on the road to immortality, Sasori," Orochimaru said lightly. He wasn't fazed by Sasori's warning but preferred to avoid infighting before their encounter with Shinno. Shinno was not only the target of their mission, he also possessed a few secret techniques that Orochimaru wanted. If negotiations failed to secure Shinno's techniques, Orochimaru would need Sasori's strength to take them by force. Chapter 253, The Secret Technique of Flash Activation. Leaping down from the cliff, Sasori and Orochimaru walked confidently toward the hidden Sky Ninja village. Before they reached the heart of the village, a group of Sky Ninja, wary and hostile, quickly surrounded them. These Sky Ninja were remnants of their once feared village, having survived in secrecy for years. Their ultimate goal was to see their floating fortress soar through the skies once more and take revenge on the Hidden Leaf village, which had crushed the Sky Ninja in the past. To protect their secrecy, they couldn't let anyone leave alive who discovered their whereabouts. Just as the Sky Ninja were preparing to attack, a messenger leaned in to whisper something to their captain. After listening, the captain addressed Orochimaru and Sasori with newfound respect. "So it's Lord Orochimaru. Leader Shinno has been waiting for you in the guest hall." With a gesture, the captain led them forward. Soon, Sasori and Orochimaru were in the guest hall, facing Shinno, who looked more like an elderly farmer than the leader of a ninja faction. Once they were seated, Shinno, with a sour expression, asked, "What do you want, Orochimaru?" "I despise Hidden Leaf Village, even if you're only formerly of that village. If you're here to discuss plans against Hidden Leaf Village, I'll gladly host you. But if you've come for other reasons, you might as well leave now." "I have no immediate interest in Hidden Leaf Village," Orochimaru replied, pausing briefly before continuing. "But my companion here shares your hatred for Hidden Leaf Village. You might have more in common than you think. This is Sasori of the Red Sand. His parents were killed by Hidden Leaf Village ninja." Sasori shot a cold glare at Orochimaru, irked at his intrusion into a sensitive part of his past. Shinno observed Sasori for a moment, noticing immediately that his body wasn't entirely human. As an experienced medical ninja, Shinno could tell Sasori's body had been transformed into a puppet. Still skeptical of Orochimaru's intentions, Shinno cut him off. "Enough small talk. We aren't that close, so let's get to the point." Orochimaru's smile faded, and he got to the heart of the matter. "Shinno, I suspect you had a hand in the recent lockdown of Hidden Cloud's village. During their conflict with Hidden Leaf Village, you must have acquired quite a few valuable assets from them." He leaned in slightly. "I've heard that one of those assets is the body revival technique." Shinno's face darkened, clearly surprised at Orochimaru's intelligence network, but he nodded. "Yes, the body revival technique is in my possession. Are you after it as well?" "Of course," Orochimaru said openly. The body revival technique was a closely guarded secret of the Hidden Clouds village, on par with the forbidden jutsu recorded in Hidden Leaf Village's Scroll of Seals. This technique allowed Hidden Clouds village to produce powerful, resilient warriors. Orochimaru had no intention of becoming a muscle-bound brute, But he knew the technique would simplify many of his experiments, especially those related to his soul transfer jutsu. Shinno sneered, "The body revival technique took me considerable time to acquire. You'll need to exchange a technique of equal value." "What do you want in exchange?" Orochimaru asked. Shinno answered without hesitation, "The artificial tailed beast technique recorded in the scroll of seals from Hidden Leaf Village. Only if you offer me that technique will I give you the one you want." Orochimaru narrowed his eyes, glancing at the ground beneath them, considering Shinno's intentions. Was Shinno planning to create an artificial tailed beast to power the Sky Fortress again? Orochimaru recalled how much effort he and the third Hokage had spent to destroy that fortress years ago. Finally, Orochimaru produced a scroll from his robe and handed it to Shinno. In return, Shinno pulled out his own scroll, passing it to Orochimaru. After a quick exchange of glances, both parties realized they had fallen into each other's trap. At this moment, Sasori of the Red Sand spoke up. "I'm not here for the body revival technique. I'm here for the kunai gun and the method to manufacture chakra weaponry." He added ominously, "I suggest you hand over these techniques promptly, or my puppets won't be so kind." Hearing Sasori's demand for his chakra technology, Shinno's face darkened as he glared sharply at Orochimaru and Sasori. These two had come straight to him, demanding his secrets and threatening him with force. Did they really think he was just some pushover to be toyed with? With that thought, Shinno gestured toward the exit and said icily, "Since you two have shown no sincerity, I suggest you leave immediately. The Sky Ninja Village does not welcome you." Sasori and Orochimaru exchanged a look, then turned back to Shinno and launched a coordinated attack. Sasori summoned his puppets Black Crow and Grey Ant. These were masterworks by Hidden Sand Village standards, but to Sasori, they were only basic puppets. Orochimaru used his hidden shadow snake hands, unleashing several venomous snakes from his sleeve that slithered toward Shinno, locking onto his position. Shinno, prepared for a fight, drew a scalpel from his waist. With swift precision, he sliced through the air, severing several of the attacking snakes and leaving them writhing on the ground. However, against Black Crow and Grey Ant, his scalpel didn't seem as effective. It barely left shallow scratches on their metal surfaces, failing to slice through them. Unfazed, Shinno clenched his fist and lunged at the puppets, shattering them into pieces with a single strike. Dodging the duo's attacks, Shinno moved several dozen meters away, keeping a close watch on Sasori and Orochimaru. From the moment he noticed these two, he had prepared for a fight as Sasori and Orochimaru were rogue ninjas, and rogue ninjas couldn't be trusted. With such people, the only reliable means of negotiation was brute strength. Seeing his puppets smashed to bits, Sasori's expression shifted. Black Crow and Grey Ant were both crafted from metal, he could have accepted their destruction by ninjutsu, but for this seemingly unremarkable Shinno to smash them with his fists? Could Shinno possibly be a taijutsu master on par with the fourth Raikage? Unlike Sasori, Orochimaru had discerned Shinno's technique, and his expression turned more complex. Shinno's recent taijutsu moves were unmistakably the 8 gates technique from the Hidden Leaf Village, and he had opened 4 of the gates. Orochimaru was baffled by how Shinno had obtained the 8 gates technique. Activating this technique required an exceptional physique, and the body revival technique was perfectly suited to enhance one's physical prowess. After witnessing Shinno's strength, Orochimaru's desire for the body revival technique only grew stronger. Chapter 254, The Genius Puppeteer. After successfully repelling the joint assault from Sasori of the Red Sand and Orochimaru, a manic grin appeared on Shinno's face. His confidence soaring, he taunted them, "Orochimaru, if this is all you've got, you should get on your knees and beg for mercy now. Maybe, if I'm in a good mood, I'll let you both live." Hearing this, both Sasori and Orochimaru's expressions turned odd. This was Shinno's home turf in the Sky Ninja Village, true, but perhaps he was getting too confident. One of them was Orochimaru, the legendary Sannin who struck fear across the ninja world, and the other was Sasori of the Red Sand, the one who assassinated the third Kazekage. The two of them together could easily take on even the strongest Kage of the 5 great nations. Retrieving his puppets, Black Crow and Grey Ant, Sasori raised the scorpion tail on his back and struck toward Shinno with blinding speed, while Orochimaru swiftly closed in, drawing the Kusanagi sword from his mouth. As the two launched their renewed offensive, Shinno pressed off the ground with his toes and vanished from sight. In the blink of an eye, he reappeared beside Sasori, bringing a heavy fist down from above. The blow left only a shallow dent in Hiroko's metal casing. Without even turning, Sasori flicked his scorpion tail, piercing Shinno's skin and leaving a bloody wound, while Orochimaru seized the opportunity to slice across Shinno's body with his sword. Realizing he'd been wounded, Shinno quickly created some distance, clutching his head in frustration. Although the injuries inflicted by Sasori and Orochimaru weren't fatal, their weapons were laced with potent toxins. Even with his advanced medical knowledge, purging the poison would still take a significant amount of time. Seeing this, Sasori and Orochimaru paused their attack and began to approach Shinno. Their aim wasn't to kill him but to acquire his latest techniques and technology. They needed Shinno alive to get what they came for. Just as Sasori and Orochimaru were about to close in, Shinno, who appeared weakened, suddenly sprang up, his chakra surging to several times its previous level, distorting the air around him. In a flash, Shinno appeared beside them, unleashing powerful strikes with both arms. A thunderous impact resounded as Sasori and Orochimaru were sent flying over 10 meters, crashing into walls that cracked in a spiderweb pattern on impact. Climbing back to their feet, Sasori's face darkened. He hadn't expected Shinno to be immune to their poison. It seemed Shinno was even tougher than he had anticipated. It was time to get serious. Orochimaru's expression was equally grim. Judging by the color of the steam emanating from Shinno, he had opened the 7th of the 8 gates, coming dangerously close to the technique's ultimate limit. Shinno had clearly grown considerably over the years. His prowess in forbidden medical techniques now seemed to surpass even Tsunoda's. Resolving to go all out, Sasori and Orochimaru made their preparations. Drawing out a summoning scroll, Sasori performed a summoning jutsu, bringing forth his most powerful puppet, the third Kazekage. Orochimaru, meanwhile, transformed his body into that of a massive white serpent. As a sinister breeze swept across the ground, a torrent of iron sand emerged from beneath the earth, forming a storm of metal that surged toward Shinno. Manipulated by Sasori's magnet style, the iron sand was both a piercing spear and an impenetrable shield. With the iron sand constraining him, Shinno struggled to find an opening. Orochimaru, gripping the Kusanagi sword in his serpent's mouth, waited for the perfect moment to strike, darting around the battlefield and studying Shinno's movements. Though Shinno had harnessed both the body revival jutsu and forbidden medical jutsu to activate the 7th gate of the 8 gates, this technique was not sustainable. Once his stamina was depleted and he fell out of this state, he would stand no chance against these two. Scanning his surroundings, Shinno's gaze lingered on Sasori. Orochimaru's serpent form had demonstrated formidable strength over the years, and finding a way to exploit him seemed unlikely. But Sasori, the puppeteer by Orochimaru's side, was different. While his strength rivaled Orochimaru's, puppeteers had unique vulnerabilities compared to typical ninja. For instance, their bodies tended to be fragile, and they relied on chakra threads to control their puppets. The chakra threads were nearly invisible and exceptionally tough, making it challenging for most ninjas to detect them, let alone sever them. However, for Shinno, who was highly skilled in medical ninjutsu, this task was less daunting. Intentionally creating an opening, he lured the third Kazekage puppet into an attack, enduring the searing pain as iron sand began to corrode his flesh. He then drew his chakra scalpel, slashing at the chakra thread suspending the puppet midair. With the chakra thread severed, the Kazekage puppet dropped like a kite with its string cut. Seizing the opportunity, Shinno leapt onto the puppet, preparing to close the distance to Sasori and shatter Hiruka with a powerful blow. But just as Shinno closed in, the seemingly lifeless Kazekage puppet sprang back to life. It swiftly conjured a spear of metal, thrusting it through Shinno's body, while a torrent of iron sand surged into his bloodstream. With his iron sand now within Shinno, Sasori gained complete control over him, casting a cold, disdainful glance at Orochimaru. Sasori had noticed Orochimaru's repeated reluctance to assist him during the battle. While Sasori had never relied on Orochimaru to back him up, he was irked by his partner's blatant disregard for their alliance. Had Sasori not mastered a technique for remote puppet control beforehand, he might have needed to consider a strategic retreat, only to return later with an army of puppets. Feeling the iron sand coursing through his veins, Shinno's face darkened. These particles, woven into his blood, could claim his life at any moment. He had lost the fight, and he had lost badly. Yet one question haunted him: how had he been defeated? He was sure he had severed every last chakra thread, and without them, a puppeteer should be unable to control their puppets. Orochimaru, too, was perplexed. He had purposely held back to gain a favor from Sasori, planning to intervene at the crucial moment. However, just as he prepared to step in, the Kazekage puppet, devoid of any visible energy source, had unexpectedly sprung to life, shifting the entire outcome of the battle with a single, precise strike to Shinno's back. Noticing the expressions on their faces, Sasori, stone-faced, said, "Controlling puppets with chakra threads is the method of an ordinary puppeteer. I'm not like those simpletons. Even without chakra threads, I can still control my puppets." Chapter 255, Recruitment work can sometimes rely on subordinates. A true puppet master can control their puppets without chakra threads. Your understanding of puppet techniques is shallow, Seisaori said, his tone edged with disdain. Upon hearing this, Shinno and Orochimaru both fell silent. Seisaori was right, they had indeed underestimated the full scope of puppet mastery, assuming that chakra threads were the only method. Shinno's loss, therefore, wasn't entirely unwarranted. Yet, Orochimaru was intrigued. If he had the chance, he'd love to uncover the mechanism behind Seisaori's remote control. How Seisaori managed it remained a mystery, sparking a hint of curiosity in him. Noticing their silence, Seisaori felt a surge of satisfaction. He recalled his own sense of frustration years ago when he first saw Byakuya controlling puppets remotely, surpassing even Seisaori's own expertise. As a puppeteer himself, realizing someone had exceeded his skills in his own field nearly shattered his ambitions. But after years of study and innovation, Seisaori had finally managed to master similar techniques. With Byakuya's continued funding, Seisaori could keep pushing his research, bringing him closer to his lifelong dream of becoming the greatest puppet master in the ninja world, a dream tied to the hopes his parents once held for him. Several years ago, his only goals had been to achieve immortality and to take revenge on Hidden Leaf Village. But spending time with Byakuya had altered his perspective. Byakuya had spoken of experimental efforts within the organization to resurrect the dead. If the project succeeded, Seisaori might even have a chance to revive his parents, whom he'd lost in childhood. Returning to the present, Seisaori refocused on the task Byakuya had given him. Moving to Shinno's side, he spoke coldly, "Shinno, you've lost. As a loser, you have no choice in this. Will you hand over the technology for the handheld kunai launcher willingly, or would you rather have us forcibly extract the memories from your mind?" "Just the handheld kunai launcher technology?" Shinno's eyes widened in slight surprise. "The plans are in the village. I'll have someone bring them to you. After that, will you let me go?" Only minutes ago, Shinno had appeared as the steadfast leader of the Sky Ninja. But when his life was on the line, his demeanor quickly softened. Hearing that Seisaori only wanted the handheld kunai launcher relieved him, as that weapon wasn't particularly advanced within Sky Ninja technology. The handheld kunai launcher might seem innovative to the nations of the ninja world, but in Sky Ninja Village, it was standard fare. The ninjas of his village, though generally weak and of low rank, excelled in chakra technology and the development of chakra-based weaponry. More than 2 decades ago, they had even constructed a floating fortress. If not for energy shortages, they might not have lost their previous battle with Hidden Leaf Village. Ever since, Shinno had been searching for a permanent energy solution. At that moment, Orochimaru interjected, "And let's not forget the body revival jutsu." Seisaori frowned. "The body revival jutsu wasn't part of our mission. I'm against you taking it," he remarked, taking the opportunity to hinder Orochimaru's plans, though he wasn't exactly sure what the technique was. Orochimaru glanced at Seisaori before speaking. "The leader didn't mention it, but I'm sure he wouldn't oppose us doing this. Don't you want to contribute to the organization?" Seisaori hesitated for a moment, then replied, "Including the body revival jutsu, but it must be handed to me directly. Once I give it to the leader, let him decide what to do next." Hearing this, Orochimaru was still a little dissatisfied, but he nodded. As long as the body revival jutsu was in Byakuya's hands, it would be easy for Orochimaru to obtain it later. He could simply exchange some of his research results to get it. After hearing the exchange between Seisaori and Orochimaru, Shinno asked with confusion, "Orochimaru, how do ninjas like you willingly serve under someone else? Is he really that strong?" Seisaori and Orochimaru exchanged a glance and nodded. "The leader is extremely strong enough to be our leader, but that probably has nothing to do with you." "Not entirely unrelated." Shinno forced a smile and said, "Seisaori, Orochimaru, would you be willing to introduce me? I'd like to join your organization." At Shinno's suggestion, both Seisaori and Orochimaru fell into thought. They often heard Byakuya complain about the lack of personnel in the organization. Given Shinno's strength and influence, he was qualified to join Akatsuki. However, they had only just created an enmity with Shinno, and they wondered whether his joining might cause unnecessary problems in the future. After much contemplation, Seisaori and Orochimaru didn't immediately agree to Shinno's request. Instead, Seisaori touched the ring on his finger and used a Ganjutsu to remotely contact Byakuya. Land of Snow. After the remote conversation ended, Byakuya lay leisurely on the bed, staring at the ceiling. An hour earlier, he had received a mission report from Orochimaru and Seisaori. The report stated that the two had reached Sky Ninja Village and obtained the related data on the handheld kunai launcher's manufacturing. They also reported having defeated Shinno, who had opened the 7th gate of the 8 gates. Byakuya was not surprised that Shinno had mastered the 8 gates of Hidden Leaf Village. Although the 8 gates was a forbidden technique from Hidden Leaf Village, its secrecy was not as high as other forbidden jutsu, similar to the multiple shadow clone jutsu. The reason was simple: these 2 techniques didn't pose much threat to the ninja world. Even if the enemy acquired them, it wouldn't be a major issue. The only real danger was the physical toll they took on the user. For example, the multiple shadow clone jutsu allowed for the creation of many clones, but all the memories and fatigue were passed back to the user, and most ninjas couldn't handle it. It often led to mental exhaustion or even dementia. As for the 8 gates, it literally burned the user's life away for minimal return. In the time spent training to open the 8 gates, a ninja could learn other secret techniques much faster. Body techniques were ultimately only a last resort method for combat. It wasn't until Might Dai single-handedly defeated the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist that this technique gained some attention. Then, during the 4th Great Ninja War, a monster like Might Dai, who rivaled someone like Madara with nothing but his human body, made an even greater impact. At the end of the video call, Byakuya learned of Shinno's request to join the Akatsuki organization.